All right, all right. It's Saturday night. You know what it is. It's Saturday night Shoot the Breeze here on the Bitter Medicine Podcast. This is a segment I do every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I invite you to invite others to tune into these conversations. I think these are worthy conversations to be heard, and I think they're even worthier to be participating in. I want to shout out you guys who who do listen to the show. I saw something earlier today on Brother Bakari's show he did earlier today. Make sure to check it out when you have a chance. I'll be watching the playback soon myself. But I caught the end of it, and it reminded me of something my grandmother used to teach me when I was a kid. She used to say that when you think people ain't watching, people are watching. And my life has proven that you might not know it, but there's people who are paying attention. Just this week, I was taking my son. I've been teaching him how to drive, and we passed through this one corner, and a woman is outside her house, I guess, and she shouts out, "Hey, he's getting better." I've never seen this woman in my life, but it just goes to show you, and it's not in the area where we live. Right? It's in another area. So it just shows you people are listening. I realize there's folks who listen to the show either live or in the playback that I don't know because they don't reveal it. One of these people is Shaka Zulu, or Anthony, who's on Brother Bakari's show a lot. He mentioned something that happened last week on Shoot the Breeze that I'll be honest with you, that was a blip to me. It didn't even really register. I won't get into now what it was, but it just showed me that people are listening, even though it might be small numbers of people. People are listening, and there's a potential to get others to listen. But we got to do the work to make sure that other people are getting these conversations. With that said, I'm getting back on to my recruiting. And we need to add some more people to the network, some more active folks, super active folks. Shout out to Brother Bakari out there in the chat saying peace and black power family. Yeah, got to get back to building up the roster, trying to get back to getting some women to join the matron and Cassandra on the show, to have more discussions that are directed at black women, etc. So if you know of anyone who might fit with us, let us know, and ultimately let me know. Anyway, what are we talking about tonight? Daily affirmations by Pauline's out there saying good evening, so good evening to her. Tonight, we're gonna. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong note here. Give me one quick second. I know something didn't look right. Damn it. All right, I just have to open up another file. So we're gonna try to answer the question: are you a capitalist? And if you are you sure? We're gonna look at a black game developer who, speaking on the harassment they took for their game. We're going to talk about that. We're going to look at a meme I saw on Oni's Twitter. And we're going to answer the question, why don't we call this tribalist or racist, nationalist? Why do we only call this religious? It's about the small hats, the Jews. We're going to talk about a new Pan-Africanist news show and what topics we'd like to see. And if time permits, we will talk about differential treatment in dating. Those are all the topics we have in store tonight. Shout out to KWAZ, since Albona. Oni is out there. He's in backstage as well here. He says, peace. I forgot I have to work later, so maybe I shouldn't stay long. Well, I appreciate you coming through. I'm going to officially start the show now. And on the other side, I will drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce you to any and all of my panelists tonight. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you're also tuned into the Brother Bakari podcast. Make sure you're tuned into Forecast Radio. Cassandra is usually on Forecast Radio these days, but tune into her channel as well. And of course, do check out the matron, support her as best as you can as she does her readings during the week. I think it's every day at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to support that sister. And again, if you know sisters you think will be good on the network, let us know, particularly let me know, and so that we could start to get some new blood, so to speak, on the network. Oh, and also shout out D Webb. Webb has Hip Hop High Society. You guys check out what Webb's doing over there as well. Let me welcome in my panelists so far tonight. We got Oni from the Pro-Black Perspective. Oni, how you doing, man?
I'm cool. A little tired, but it's all good. Good to be here.
Yeah, you've been missed for a bit here. I appreciate you coming through once again. I know the time difference is crazy, so I won't hold it against you if you can't stay too long. So just to let you know, all right? With that said, let's welcome in Buana this week. Buana, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to see Oni. Oni, I've been seeing the food photos that you've been posting, man. The food looks very good. Koku, did you have the opportunity to investigate that thing or not yet?
Yeah, I started it too, but I haven't reached out. But I'll update you soon.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. So thanks to you too for being here on the panel with me. Anyone else who wants to join, just click the link pinned at the top of the chat. You too can join the panel and have your voices be heard. Anthony McPhail's out in the chat saying what's up to all of us. Peace to the chat. Kofi is out there as well. Just was listening to Kofi's live that ended around 7. Interesting conversation. I actually caught a stray today. That's over whatever it was that Buana and Kofi was saying about PASB. I'll say it like KW Don said it. I heard Shaka Zulu on Bakari's show say something about it. I hope he's listening. Shaka, feel free to call in as well. But
Shackles, I'm gonna go on that.
yeah, it was something to do with something that was said about Brandon. I don't even remember it well from last week. But Shaka, by all means, if you're listening, which it seems like you do listen to the show, call in, man. No beefing or nothing, just a chat. I guess Kofi will be along later as well. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 in the meantime. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, are you a capitalist? Are you sure? This came with a link that's going to take us to TikTok. We're going to watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
The law isn't dedicated to justice, it's dedicated to profits. Education is not dedicated to teaching, it's dedicated to profits. Healthcare is not dedicated to health, it's dedicated to profits. The media is not dedicated to journalism, it's dedicated to profits. The only minority that you should blame is the 1%. Let me ask you something. Do you think that you have anything in common with a Larry Fink, Jamie Dimon, Steven Schwartzman, Bill Gates, Apartheid Clyde, Jeff Bezos, Bernard Arnault? Do you think you have anything to do with these people? You're not a capitalist, okay? You're a worker. If you work for a living, you are in the working class. Congratulations. Most people are. You are not a benefactor of capitalism. You are not a beneficiary of capitalism. So quit simping for your capitalist overlords. They do not care about you. They will literally melt you down into biomatter and use you as jet fuel for their next flight to space. They do not like you. They don't think about you. They are literally exploiting you. You are the reason that they are enjoying such a luxurious, lavish life. Think about that the next time you go to work, okay? Think about that the next time you earn a wage, which says you have a right to be here on this earth. You are not an institutional player. You have nothing to do with the captains of industry. You are not an institutional investor. You don't. That is not the means of production. Even if you own a car, that is not the means of production. If you were a worker and you defend capitalism, no. All that tells me or anyone with any sense is that you just fundamentally don't understand the political economy that you live in. You don't understand how the system is actually exploiting and undermining your very existence.
Interesting stuff. If that was Jane Elliott, black folks would be falling over themselves probably. If they're not falling over themselves, many of them, over this guy's words here. In the chat, Black Steel's out there. He said, speaking my language. I like that from Black Steel, staying consistent. Let's welcome in another panelist this week. Kofi is here. Kofi, how are you this week? Kofi, you're muted if you're talking. All right, maybe Kofi stepped away. In the meantime, let's get right into it then. Only what say you to this? Are you a capitalist, and are you sure after watching this video?
Yeah, this episode of X-Men is really weird. This Wolverine motherfucker look at
He do look like Wolverine.
What is he talking about? All right, X-Men. What is it, X-Men 94 or something like that? Well, I don't know what they call it, but there's some new X-Men. It's weird as fuck, man. Just lecturing about capitalism. Again, this is just white folk talking, man. I mean, what can I say? Are you? I mean, look. white folk. See, that's the thing. That's the thing I don't understand about this world. I'll tell you guys because we're gonna talk about the small hats, if you will, right? I was reading this book. I wasn't really reading it. I just skipped through this book by Freud, and he's like, these people claim to be the chosen people, right? Because they gave you, they gave the world two prophets. Most people think that Moses was a prophet and Jesus was a prophet. And here's the thing: real talk, they gave you three prophets because Marx is is another one of them motherfuckers like at the head of oh sorry I forgot we shouldn't be cursing. Well, it's another one of those people at the core of quote unquote religion. If I'm going to work, like I just said, I have to go work. If I'm going to work, like that's it. And there's these super rich people. I gotta admit, it's really really hard to um to just get wealth. You know, it's really hard to get wealth. And if some people find it easy because they already have wealth, or some people find it easy because they exploit or whatever, right? Um, that's one thing. But it's like what do you want to do as an individual of our species? What do you want to do with your life? How do you want to earn a living? Do you want to work every day, or do you want to, um, or do you want to invent something and accumulate wealth from that residual? Like when you talk about these guys, like he just showed you. I don't know all of them, right? But let's say you talk about Elon Musk, you talk about Jeff Bezos, you talk about Bill Gates. Now, some people will say, "Hey, look, some of them are already wealthy, right?" And maybe not, right? Some of them are already well connected. You could say, like when you use the Bill Gates example, because somebody used to bring up the Bill Gates example with me, right? When you use the Bill Gates example, uh, like the guy is not a programmer, right? But he sees somebody else program something that's pretty damn useful, right? And he says, "Hey, look, let me buy it from you, right? And take it to my mother over at IBM." His mother shows, she's on the board for IBM, and then she shows it off or whatever. And then he gets to, make a connection with IBM, so on and so forth. And you might say, well, look, all like, why should he be rich for that? And it's like, the reason why he's rich is because we're all sitting on Microsoft computers. It's like when it comes to Amazon and Jeff Bezos. I actually didn't even order from Amazon for the longest until like COVID happened, and then I was like, okay, sure, let me get some stuff from whatever, right? But my point is that I didn't even order. And I shouldn't have said that word, but I didn't order from them. But like the reality is this: that if people make a service or make a product that a lot of like millions or even in this case billions of people are using on a regular, right? What do you expect them to be? If I make a restaurant that sells to billions of people, right? Or if I sell toys to billions of people, like what do you think I'm going to be? Like would it make sense for me to be broke? But anyway, yeah, I know. I know this too. Why does this something? Yeah, but anyway, but like I'm just saying, like, it's going against these people just because they're rich. And I mean, obviously, some of them are obviously exploiters, but you got to remember too, people are going to exploit you partly because they don't even care about you. And this guy telling you, hey, these guys don't care about you. Yeah, but why should they care about you? That's the thing that I'm not like. I don't fully grasp as as a person. Why should like since when has the next man ever cared about you? That's my question. So it's like it is what it is. But yeah, I'm kind of.
All right, thank you for that, Oni. With that said, let's welcome in the two new panelists, I guess. Let's welcome in Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing good, Koku. I'm on vacation right now, so I was having a little fun in the sun, so I decided to pop in and see what everybody's doing.
Oh,
Everyone's
much
doing
appreciated.
well this week. So I don't know what the word Owen was talking about, man. He didn't even answer the question, which is all over the place. But I'm gonna try to, wrap it up and as short, as sweet as possible. So white dude, everything he said. Oh, well, I would say he was on point for the majority of what he said, but many times what many of these white leftists fail to recognize is the issue of race. Now, maybe what he was doing, speaking to his own folks, right? When he said the only minority you're worried about is the 1%. And if he's speaking to white people, which I believe that's who his audience was intended to be, he's absolutely right. Because it's not, the minorities that he's concerned about that are ruining the world. It's not the blacks or the Mexicans or the Asians or anybody else, which I wouldn't even consider them minorities, but I'm sure in the context of the United States, yes, they are minorities compared to everyone else. But what he's saying, that from the perspective of the European, that is not the issue of the racial problems. Black people aren't coming for you. Mexicans aren't taking your jobs. Asians aren't taking your jobs. What your true threat has been and will always be is the capitalist class, right? Um, and if someone who understands that, who has a class analysis, understand that more than likely the class you're born in is going to be the class you die in, right? So you're better to try to elevate within your class as opposed to hopefully inventing something, finding a gold mine somewhere. 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. But if you work together as a class, you can elevate your class position. That is what much of the understanding of Marxism and everything else like that. But overall, I would say that he's absolutely correct. Is speaking from white people's perspective. Now, as an African man, as a man of African descent, we do need to worry about those other people. I think that they try to de-emphasize race and push up class. Straight up, that's not our experience because the white working class is usually the hands-on people murdering, attacking, brutalizing uh, black people. It's not the rich, wealthy white people who are doing it. However, they point the gun. They're the ones who incite the racist white fervor. So whenever there's times of economic instability, right, the white working class looks for somebody to blame. So you can see it, for example, like in United States history, the period around the 1890s, early 20th century, they called it the lowest point of race relations. What was going on during that time? There was an economic recession. Cotton prices crashed. It was horrible. And at the same time, the economic crisis was happening, you saw a outbreak of racial violence because the white working class, they couldn't directly focus their anger towards the capitalists who were robbing them, but they focused their anger towards the vulnerable people in their population, the black people. So when he says that we don't have to worry about, he's talking to white people because we as Black African people, we definitely have to worry about the white working class, which is their racism is the reason there has never been any type of class solidarity between working class whites and working class black people because the working class white people are inherently racist and violent towards them. They're going to have to purge themselves of that, which is why I always look funny at these white people who want to come around black people. Focus on your granddad, focus on your cousin, your uncle, who are so anti-black they're willing to hurt themselves to hurt black people. That's who you need to focus your aggression towards. But other than that, I do think he was accurate with his, correctly assessing the true enemy of the working class is the capitalist class. Um, they they don't like hate you, and they thrive off of your subjugation. And this goes back even before capitalism. This goes back to feudalism, where you have the serfs and the lords. The serfs were taken advantage of by the lords. You know, they provide them with shelter and whatnot, but they could take what they needed from the serfs. And it was a relationship that that they had. So overall, I think he was correct in his understanding. But because he's not black, I think they always manage to leave out the racial part of their analysis, which to me just doesn't seem like they're really in it to win it. I think they would do better to work with their own people to try to deal with, because how many black people own and control the means of production, even in Africa? Who owns those diamond mines? Who owns those resources? It's not black people. It's usually European, Israeli, Chinese people. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. In the chat, Trigabi262 Plus said to that, white leftists are never going to keep their family members in check. That's a pipe dream. I had to come to that realization many years ago too. They're not going to hold themselves accountable, their family and all that. Just forget about that stuff. Trigger said a couple of things. So I'm going to read a couple of comments. In the meantime, I guess Kofi left from the panel because I saw him commenting in the chat. I was going to say, Kofi, hit me in the private chat. Let me know if you're here or not. So before I get to Boyan, let me read some comments. Trigabi262 Plus says he's not a capitalist, but having money and building an organization isn't bad. It's largely going to be about what you do with the money. A lot of our people talk about business and not redistribution. He said the African mode of production had rich people. The difference is such rich people were heavily regulated, generous, and funded the functioning of society. Now, some would argue we should refine that one. He said, but for the most part, this is miles apart from what we have now. Essentially, the rich are like how NBA 3 and have a big star and contributed to the team. I couldn't follow that one well. This is the last one I'll read from the chat. He said Garvey had a model where the business class essentially had to contribute to a redistribution model that funded infrastructure projects. I think we can use that as a means of transition. That's something I'd like to talk about a little bit more before we move on to the next prompt after Buana does his part here. Let's talk about it in light of Garveyism, utilizing this tool of capitalism, if you will, but adding that element of redistribution, like Oni talked about. After I've come up with the idea, I've put the money into it, etc., I should profit. I shouldn't be broke, but I want to know how you feel about that idea of quote unquote redistribution as well. With all of that said, Buana, what say you to all of it?
Yeah, so I don't carry a formal view of some of my political theoreticians as far as capitalism goes. I think that all of us in the Western world who sell their labor for profit to the highest bidder, to the highest whatever the employer is willing to pay, and how much the employer is willing to pay. All of us are selling our labor for money. So we are exploiting our labor to get as much money as possible. So what is our capital? Our capital is our time. Our capital is our skill set. Our capital is our energy. And we are selling that to whatever corporation or institution who are willing to pay us a certain amount of money. That is the means to produce. I know that's not Karl Marx his formal definition of what capitalism is. I understand that, but that's what I understand But I do understand, because I can think outside of Karl Marx. Karl Marx ain't the only one, or neither is the other brother. I forget the white boy name. Who wrote that book? I forget his name now. It escapes me. But my means to produce is my energy. My means to produce is the labor that I am performing, whatever the company says I must perform, for how much that I say that I am willing to do it for. That's my means to produce. So if he want me to be productive in his company, his corporation, his organization, you know, I'm probably going to be willing to do it. Some say for $100 an hour. Some say for $200 an hour. Some people say for $300 an hour, I'll be willing to do these particular things and sell you my time, sell you my labor, and sell you my skill set. Now that's not capitalism in the formal sense, but to me that makes sense in a capitalistic kind of way. Now, some people do control a certain levels of means of production, maybe not necessarily on a Bezos level, maybe not necessarily on an Elon Musk level, you know, because if a man in Tanzania, if he owns 100 acres of land and he possesses 200 and 300 cattle on that land, and he uses that cattle, whether it's to sell the cattle, the livestock for meat, or whether he's willing to take the skins and sell the skins on that land, or if he's going to grow coffee on that land and sell it for those reasons, he is a capitalist as well. Maybe not on the same level as a Jeff Bezos, but he's practicing capitalism as well. He can, in the formal sense, he controls the means of production of his land and the resources on it. Yeah, I think it's really dependent on how you look at it, because some people are thankful to the Jeff Bezoses of the world because they are able to sell Jeff Bezos and people like him and his lot, their labor, their skill set, and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You know what I mean? Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And in essence, take that money and be able to feed their families, take their families on vacation, send their families to universities. You know what I mean? So, but they may not necessarily be making the money as the people in the formal sense as the Bezoses of the world, but they sure are able to make enough money to do what they wish to do with their own personal lives and their own situation. So they're thankful to the people who have the ability to give them the opportunity to do these kinds of things. You know, when people don't have that same kind of opportunity and wish they did. You know something. Sometimes when Westerners talk, sometimes I don't. Vacation. The idea of vacation is a westernized thing. That's a westernized thinking. You know, I never even understood the idea of vacation until I actually got into the first world. Because my father, they didn't even have the idea of vacation. They still functioning off of the mindset of the plantation system, where you work from can't see to can't see, and they work until they die, drop dead. This is they never got rid of that philosophy. I don't practice that philosophy now. I had to disabuse myself for that. But the whole idea of vacation is coming from a capitalistic perspective, because they say, well, the worker must have time to rest. The worker needs to enjoy his life a little. You know, that comes from a capitalist ideology. Well, that's neither here nor there. I don't even competition itself. In your socialist fantasies. In the socialist fantasies, where the government is able to control all essential services. So even when the essentials, like 2 weeks ago, my light was off because we only have one electrical company here, and I wish we had a few others where we could say this service that these people are given to the people is poor. We need other services just like this one, so they could have the ability to compete now for my money at the end of the day. So if these people are effing up and not performing up to scratch, let me go to these people over here. That's competition. That's capitalism in the market. You're seeing, well, there's a shortfall here. There's something that I could come into and I could put myself in it. I could provide a service and I could help people as well, but I could do it for money. The only way I see the capitalist, this white man was suggesting is a bad thing, is when they create monopolies. Monopolies is where I can't get involved and I can't open up my little corner shack to be able to compete with the big boys on the corner. I can't compete with McDonald's. The law says I can't compete with McDonald's. Now I have a problem with the idea of capitalism, because you're running a monopoly and say, I only can buy from your place. But if a mom and pop store is able to open up a nice hamburger spot where the food is very good, now McDonald's have competition. So they have to prepare food and sell food at a cost that is competitive in the market. Now I reap the rewards of that. Me as a customer, I just, like I say, I understand where the brothers come, because when people think of socialism, they are triggered and they say, well, you're helping society, you're helping the people within the society. But I'm saying sometimes you have to live in socialist countries or socialistic countries to really understand and see. And maybe people say, well, they ain't practicing the socialism right. But I don't see, I think that capitalism, and not extreme capitalism, but I think that capitalism sometimes is necessary and needed. And I appreciate the fact that well, I have lived in places where it's both, where it's extremely capitalistic and extremely socialistic. And I gotta tell you, if I had a choice, I would live in a capitalistic society more than I would live in a socialist one. But I'll stop there and let the other brothers go.
All right. Buana has made his declaration. In the chat, Joe says, good evening. Black Steel in the chat said the relationship between workers and capitalists is inherently antagonistic. With that said, let's welcome in Brother Bakari. How are you this week, Bakari?
I'm great. Excuse me, I'm great, my man. How about you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming through.
And peace to everybody on the panel and on the chat. I just wanted to say something about this when I talk. If you capitalist, socialist, whatever, are you sure? I say I believe more in Garveyism, but it's capitalist and socialism put together. I think extreme capitalism would be bad, and extreme socialism would be bad. Because I'm the type of, see, this is me. We sit around because when you're socialism, most of that is going to be the government taking care of you, right? So with my mindset, with these people, we see what they did when we had to depend on them. They took care of us while our ancestors was enslaved. I don't think they did a good job for us, right? So if we had to sit back and wait, do I believe in community-owned businesses? Yes, I most definitely believe in community-owned businesses, but I also believe in privately owned business. I think you're gonna need both, and we need both in our community we need both in our community where we live to make things better. Community where we come together and we own, as a community, we can own the grocery store, we own the gas station, or we can own the washateria. But it's going to be privately owned businesses who are going to need the contract to do the pressure washing. Everything is not going to be group owned. Something is going to be private owned. But I think, I guess, and living in this country, I most definitely will say that I'm a capitalist, because I think you can't live in this country and say, I guess you can live here and say you're a socialist, but living in this country, you're more capitalist than anything else, regardless of what we want to say and how we want to believe, because you're living in a capitalistic system, and that system is what we're under. I don't want to have to depend on their government. I want us need to learn to depend on one another. And like I said, in our community, if we came together and had group owned business, community owned business, where the community is taking care of one another. I've been a part of things. I've been a part of things like that. So if that's what we want to do, me personally, I would say that would be great. But do I think it all should be like that? No, because if we make it all that way, what we're doing then is we're cutting out the the thinking and the ability of the people in our community amongst us who have ideas to do things. And that's my take on it. And on that note, I yield the mic.
Thank you for that, Bakari. Basically, you're saying with capitalism, you incentivize the thinkers to think about solutions to problems and to kind of advance the people that they're around, right?
Exactly. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes. But in socialism, we can just sit back and say, you know what? The government is going to take care of us.
Yeah, that
and we'll
sounds like a plantation. Yeah.
So
we'll be.
I'm sorry. I wish we had a little bit more time to devote to this subject. I know we only got to 11 o'clock, but what I'm hearing in these replies is a real deep fundamental misunderstanding of what capitalism, socialism, and even communism is. So I think that in order to really give this topic the energy it deserves, we got to have some real understanding of what these terms mean. Because socialism doesn't mean sitting back and letting the government take care of you. That is not what that means.
Exactly.
Capitalism doesn't drive innovation. Capitalism drives monopoly, right? So buying and selling doesn't make you a capitalist. No one on this panel is a capitalist. You live in a capitalist country. Buana said something about capitalism being necessary, and Marx would agree with you. He believed that capitalism was an improvement on the previous system, which was feudalism. But he also understood that capitalism had run its course, and it was time for the system to go away for us. And that was an improvement. Just the way feudalism gave way to capitalism, capitalism should give way to socialism. This is something he was incorrect about because I don't believe he really took into account how the capitalist system was able to really, evolve and change over time. But I think we really don't understand these topics and terms because um, everybody knows that if you live in a socialist nation, the minute you try to switch your economy to socialism, you come under attack. Look what happened to Venezuela. Look at what's happening to Cuba right now. As soon as Russia became the Soviet Union, what happened? Boom, Russia got invaded by multiple countries. Whenever a country decides to shift its resources from the capitalism of development to something that includes the people, which socialism means that the means of production are held in common. It's social. So that way, if you own a business, right? I own a business. The people who work for me, we distribute our resources so that way everyone benefits. It can't be a situation where you got um Jeff Bezos or that's who Amazon, Jeff Bezos, right? He's making, $100 every second, and then turn around, his workers got to pee in bottles, and they got to break their backs to work. Where the Amazon factory cuts off the alarms when hurricanes and tornadoes happen, so people can't evacuate, and people die. And he's done that before. He has done that before. So the true capitalists are really only a small, maybe like point. When you say 1%, you're talking like maybe 1.5, maybe 0.1%. Something you think about. Five individuals have more wealth than every black person in this country. 5 people. That level of wealth inequality is inconceivable. That is not something that we should try to emulate. And I think that we don't really understand these terms when we say this. You having a business will make you a capitalist. You waiting for the government to do stuff for you. It's not socialism. Okay? Even communism. Communism, when you have a planned economy, right? Where the government plans economy, they even that is not over the government gonna sit back and wait and do stuff for you. Because we all know the government is not the most efficient organization out there. We see the way they handle things. But I really just think, one day I need to have a whole stream where we sit down, break down these terms, the difference between the terms. I think that would really benefit us in future discussions.
Hey, let me have a 3.5 second conversation with Black Steel right quick, right?
Can I get in real quick, before you guys have a back and forth?
Oh, my bad. You hadn't spoke yet. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, Bakar. Now, no, I pretty much agree with what Black Steel said. Like, we have to define what these terms are, what they mean in this day and age, and pretty much what Buana said was like, I understand. He said socialism. He was using something as far as like the electric company. That's a monopoly. That's not socialism. You having one electric company is a monopoly based upon capitalism. That's not socialism, because if if that's not the definition of socialism. You know, having a monopoly of something is happens under the capitalist society. So when we talk about socialism and capitalism, these two things could and can and should exist within the same space. When these conversations aren't new, I've been seeing these conversations all over, and people have this. Well, no, you either have to be socialist or you have to be capitalist. Like you have to pick one over the other. No, the two are in balance. It's supposed to be like yin and yang, right? Because if what capitalism runs when socialism doesn't check capitalism runs amok. And I think Juan and I, we had this conversation before. Capitalism run amok is like, well, you know what? I'm going to pay my workers 2 cents a day. What you going to do about it, right? Or you know what? I have a manufacturing company, and I'm going to get rid of my waste, right? And I just get rid of my waste anyway, whether it be toxic or whatever, and I just get rid of it, right? What are you doing? You're hurting people. People think that you have a company, and a company's not ran by people, right? People make up the company. So if you're going to take care of the people on a social level, you also will take care of the body of the company, the working body of the company, of what the company is, right? So you have to have these social parts. So after oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart here. When everything went belly up in the 20s, right? And you had social programs, right, in order to save America. Why? Because everything was capitalism this, capitalism that. Give the banks all this, give the banks all of that, right? So when everything went belly up during the Dust Bowl and the Great Recession and everything like that, social programs had to be implemented. Why? You know why? Because your job didn't have a 401k, didn't have a social security, anything like that, right? You had to save whatever money you can, right? And not everybody is rich. Not everyone has something well-to-do they could put away for a rainy day, right? And that's just how things work. So guess what they asked? So what the government did? Okay, we're gonna start a social security. We take money from your check so you can have something. Why? Because your corporation doesn't pay you enough for you to gather wealth. It pays you enough so you could live, and guess what? Come back to get more money. So no one's stacking any money, right? And you have, again, so that's capitalism run amok, having capitalism do whatever it wants, right? So I know pretty much that's pretty much what I want to say. It shouldn't be a this or that thing. It should be like, how do we balance the two things? And in the United States, those two things are balanced. You have like you think back in the days you used to drive your car whenever, right? Right now you gotta get inspections. Why? You got, if your engine light is on and your catalytic converter needs to be changed. Why? Because it kind of regulates the smog that comes from your car, because it's an environmental program. It's an environmental issue. So they have to have an environmental program because it's going to affect people, right? Those are socialistic programs within a capitalist society that make things run well. So I think I gave enough examples. I'll give it back to Bakari and Black Steel so y'all can have your back and forth.
Well, real quick. I just want to say this real quick before Bakari goes. Kofi said exactly what I was going to say at the end of all of you guys' discussion. I think, and I mean no offense when I say this, and Trigger Happy hits it right here too, I think it's very white-minded of us when we think it's one thing over the other thing. And I think we forget, again, this idea of re-Africanization, right? I think we forget that we are a balanced people. We are a Ma'at people. And I think that, like Kofi just said, in America, they recognize that you have to have this balance between these two ideas, right? But initially, as Kofi pointed out, these guys had one type of mindset and it ran amok. And then they had to roll it back and be a little bit more socialistic in their ways. In the chat, Trigger Happy says it here. The fact that there's only two options shows exactly the European domination of the world, because this is from their intellectual tradition. They are a one thing or the other thing type of people. We kind of understand that it's a little bit of of two or more things sometimes. All right. With that said, Bakari, you take it away.
Okay. Okay. First, I want to say, then I want to ask Black Steel. I agree with what Kofi said. Damn, that's what I've been saying. That's why I say black people should look at Garveyism, because that's what Garveyism was. Instead of saying socialist or capitalist, that's the first thing I said. I practice Garveyism. That's what Garveyism was. It was both. It was capitalist and socialist, something for us. But anyway, I wanted to ask Black Steel, and he was like, toward the end, he was talking about how capitalists and how they benefited and all that. If something go bad, just stay in with the money. But when you look at Venezuela, who ended up with everything in Venezuela, Black Steel, when the economy failed? The president and his family was okay, right? And his friends.
Who was the president? Not Chavez. Who's the current president? Maduro, right?
I'm talking about when Chavez was over there in charge. Chavez, he was
Maduro is
okay,
not
right?
swimming, they're not swimming in wealth. Where's all this money you talking about that they living in?
And I'm the Chavez, he was good. And then when you talk about Cuba, if socialism and all that is so great, why is it the people, especially the black people in Cuba, is trying to escape Cuba and come to the United States so they can have something to be able to take care of their families?
So the reason for that, Bakari, I think we've talked about this before. I'm gonna go over again. Cuba has been under economic and political sanctions since the 1960s. So the reason people are fleeing Cuba is because Cuba has been under economic attack from the capitalist world for over 50 years. Cubans aren't able to import the goods and services that they require to keep their society functioning in a healthy way. If it's economic, as Trigger Happy, thank you, economic warfare. If the United States were to lift the embargo of Cuba, we could actually see Cuba begin to thrive. But one thing about the capitalist world is that they do not like the threat of a good example. They do not want to show any potential alternative to their system, and they will attack any alternative to their system. That is why people are fleeing Cuba, not so much because social doesn't work, because it's funny because you take, it's like a baby being born in a crib and you're trying to strangle this child as a young child, so because you don't want to grow up to be a potential threat to you. That is what the capitalist system does, and that's why people are fleeing Cuba. I guarantee if the blockade from Cuba were to end tomorrow and Cuba could do business with the rest of the world the way other US can, Cuba, people would not leave Cuba the way they do.
Well, I don't know if they would or not, but I'm just saying, I know the black ones fleeing. I don't know about the white ones playing baseball and bat and
I know a couple black
boxing.
Cubans who have fled, and some who stayed.
I know a
you know,
whole lot of them. If you keep up with boxing and baseball, there's a whole lot of them. There's a that's fleeing. But my point, that's the only thing I wanted to ask you, and okay, and you answered. I was just wondering how you thought about that. But I will say that's why I say, I'm gonna say it again before I finish. That's why I say black people should be focused on Garveyism, not capitalism, not socialism. We should be focused on Garveyism. If you look and see what Marcus Garvey did and how it was done, look at the Freedom Farm that Fannie Lou Hamer created. Look at Freedom Village. It's plenty. I don't need to look at Cuba for a great example. We can look at what black people did here, and we can see great examples of how we can fix ourselves. Thank you for letting me speak, my man.
Yes, yeah. I wanna have a say now. So, Brother Bakari talked about Garveyism. Let me address that first and foremost. So, one of the ideas, yes, Garvey participated in trade unions, especially in South America. That is a fact. He did participate in trade unions and is big in trade unions. But one of the things that the Black Star Line was trying to do, they was trying to exploit markets as well. Get products from the Caribbean and sell it in American markets. Fruits, vegetables, etc., things of that nature. You take these items from one market, which wouldn't bring you the amount of money that you would probably want, and you put it in a market that you could yield as much profit as you wish to yield it in. So he was trying to balance the whole dynamic of socialism, because him being in the trade unions and a big person within the trade unions, but also trying to exploit markets as well. So that's one. And also, Garvey sold many things like black dolls. He had many businesses, for-profit businesses within the United States. So I think that he was doing his best to walk that balancing act in terms of capitalism and communism. It can't be, capitalism and socialism. It can't be everything to everyone all the time. But I think that he was trying to address that particular issue we be talking about right now. But he did say something about the communists. I even get into that. I want to ask a question though, because we mentioning people like Jeff Bezos, who provided the service of Amazon and things of that nature. We talked about Gates, who did his thing with the internet, and all these, and Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and we talk about the monies that these guys receiving. Okay, and we say that they shouldn't be receiving all this money. But I'm asking the question: what kind of service are they providing, where they can justify the outcomes that they actually, the economic outcomes that's coming back to them? Because if I am providing a service like Amazon, which not only provides information throughout the world, but also products all throughout the world as well, in a very fast and efficient way, better than the mail service, better than the formal mail services we used to use back in the day. You know what I mean? They created a niche in the market where they could provide that service much better than the essential services which are already here, which is the U.S. mail service. You know what I mean? And they exploited that scenario and situation and made it more efficient. Another person who did that was the cab service. We used to call black men and women used to call cabs all over the world and things like that. Now we call it Uber. Uber was more efficient than the yellow cab services. Therefore, the creators of that service, that enterprise, we justify, well, why are they making billions of dollars a year? Because they provided a service that was more efficient than the services which was already here. To the winner goes the spoils. Now I'm asking a question. If I practice medicine, go to medical school, if I learn how to do certain things, and if I solve a problem like AIDS or cancer, and I have this pill, now, and I want to put it on the market, and I want to sell it for a particular price. Now the socialists come in and say, you shouldn't make $1 billion off of this product because this product should be helpful for whatever reason, and you should sell it at a cost or sell it at a price that everyone could be allowed and able to use it.
Okay. You're goddamn right.
Let me finish. So sell it for one. I'm telling you, you need to sell it for 1 cent on the market so everyone could be able to use it. And I'm sitting here to myself and I'm saying, oh, wait a minute. Where was these people when I was learning algebraic equations and medicine? Where was these people when I had to pay off my $100,000 and $300,000 medical bill? Where was these people when I was in the lab day after day? Now they telling me off of the product that I created that I only supposed to sell it at a particular price, and I know you could being a billionaire. How outrageous! How dare you become a billionaire for a service that you invented and no one else did? How dare you become that? I take umbrage with that. I think that you can't tell a man how much money he should make, especially when he came up with the idea and he took the risk and he went to all the protocols that was necessary to create and produce the product itself. Now he's selling on the market and making money from it. And you telling me how much I should make off of the invention I created? Where were you? Where were you? So, like I say, I take umbrage with my socialist brothers on this particular view. I don't think I'm saying the government need to get out of my pockets. Get out of my pockets, because you do not belong there. You can't tell me how much money. Well, I don't want to get into it. I just think that the government should get out of my pockets. That's all I wanted to say.
So let
me say this right quick. First, I want to say I do agree with things Black Steel is saying, and I also agree with when Black Steel said damn right that the medicine should be affordable for every damn body. Every damn body. because because I created it and I can make billions. I'm okay with sitting back watching little black kids suffer and die because their parents, I made a medication so high that they can't afford it. Matter of fact, shit, you done got you $1 billion. It should be given away. I agree with Black Steel about the workers should get more. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. They should have some ownership, especially in like places making billions and billions of dollars. Yes, they should be there working for no. You shouldn't just be getting $25 an hour, $30 an hour. You shouldn't just be getting that. I agree. But yes, Bawana, you asked the question. Yes, if you created this medicine that can cure AIDS and the medication.
Look like we lost Bakari there. I think Black Sea wanted to add something.
Yeah, I want to make it real quick. First of all, Jeff Bezos and Elon. Jeff Bezos is not putting your package on the conveyor belt and shipping it out to you. All right, he came up with an idea, but for an idea to work, for an idea to become reality, he needed workers. He needed people to drive those trucks, to run the conveyor belt, go into the warehouse. He needed human beings to do that. So you don't get wealth without labor. Okay, that's something.
AI is getting rid of that excuse. Black Steel.
AI is not there yet. AI is not there yet, and AI can help, and it can also be harmed. AI in the hands of a capitalist is going to create a dystopian world. AI in the hands of workers is going to free up more time for people to have leisure. We'll talk about that later. But as of right now, he's not shipping no packages. He's not flying that plane. He's not dropping it off at your house and bringing that doorbell. He is using people's labor. And as such, that labor should be distributed equally among the workers, because without the workers, he would have no business. If everybody at Amazon said, we ain't working today, we all calling off, and Jeff Bezos had to go in there and do that work himself, it would fall apart. Number two, you cannot get to $1 billion ethically. There is no ethical way to get to $1 billion. Every $1 billion you make is a dollar taken from somebody else's pocket. That is no ethical way to become a billionaire. That is the amount of exploitation. Billionaires should not exist. That level of exploitation is destroying this planet. And third of all, okay, if a scientist develops a medication, right? Say he makes his medication, he's not in the lab by himself. There's lab facilities. He has people working with him. All right. The dude created the polio vaccine, Jonas Salk. He gave the polio vaccine away because he knew that people needed this vaccine. The person who created insulin, he sold the patent for insulin for $1 because he wanted to be available for everybody. Some pharmaceutical company bought the patent, and now people are dying because they can't have their insulin because it's so expensive. So yeah, we're gonna say, bro, you making $1 billion is ridiculous, because that level of inequality comes from exploitation. That's money that someone's not getting paid. That's money that other people aren't getting paid. Now, once you are able to set up a system that is more equitable for everybody, okay, that's fine. But the idea that somebody can have $1 billion and that some people gotta pee in bottles because they can't stop, they get in trouble from their job. There's a problem with that system. I'll leave it there.
So hold on, Black Steel. I'll be quick, Coco. So by your reasoning, you said that for every dollar that Ray Crockett makes, McDonald's, the owner of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, for every dollar that he's getting, or every $1 billion he's getting, he's taking it away from someone else. You know what he's taking it away from? He's taking it away from that fat white girl who loves French fries, and he is selling her the French fry for $1. So he is giving her what she wants, and in return, she's giving him what he wants. So it's a fair exchange. It's a fair exchange.
Are you buying French fries at for $1? Because last time I went, it was almost $5 for a large fry.
And that fat girl willing to pay $5 for them large French fries.
So instead of McDonald's workers getting paid what, minimum wage in many places, why not pay your workers more? You could afford it. Pay your workers pay your workers $25 an hour. That wouldn't hurt you that much. How would it hurt him?
It would.
He's a billionaire. How would it hurt him?
It wouldn't hurt her. It wouldn't hurt her. But hold on though. Hold on though. Hold on though. So I am paying people. I am paying people for the labor. What is that labor worth on a free market? What is the labor worth for flipping a burger over and frying some fries? You can right now. You don't even have to fry fries at a certain time in your mind. You just press 10 minutes. And you put it in the fryer and it comes out already. You don't have to. What value are you adding in terms of me justifying paying you $25 an hour? Why is that fair? Why do I have to pay you 20? Because on a free it's free market though. A black steel. Come on, man. Oh man.
I believe I said 25 just to be facetious, but I believe all work is honorable. Everybody who works should be paid a wage that they can live off of. I don't think that's a radical idea. I worked at McDonald's in high school. Let me tell you, I worked. Okay, my mom, my stepdad made sure I worked, flipping that burger on time, getting them buns out hot, making sure that food was being delivered. I did that work. Okay, and that was honorable work. So I don't think it's.
We ain't talking honorable. I'm saying as a McDonald's. As a burger flipper, should let me ask you this question, last year. As a McDonald's worker, at the time when he was working, should you be paid $25 an hour for that work?
What's the cost of living where you live at? You should be able to make a living on where you live at. I believe that. So
okay,
I would say if he didn't have those workers, if he didn't have people in the store flipping burgers, how would that go for him? Taking the orders. Let's say we take nobody in the store whatsoever. How much?
That's it's a bad argument, because you know what would happen if the people who are not willing to work for the $25 an hour, if they offer somebody that seems this $10 an hour, a bunch of immigrants who willing to work for it, even though it's not so in your mind, it's not a livable wage, because what a livable wage is to you might be completely different from me. Needless to say, a person will be willing to take that money because they know it's better than $0 an hour.
All right. We kind of run out with that.
Let me say one thing because my phone hung up. I'm sorry, I had a phone call actually. Then I'm gonna get off because I'm ready to go to this fight party. So I'm gonna listen offline. But Bawana sound like he has completely bought in when he said they don't really need people. You can just smash a button. He sound like he's preparing for the robots and everything to come do away with people, because that's what they're working toward. And then you will really be depending on the government when we say we don't need people to do this. That sounds like some of these big companies saying they don't need truck drivers anymore. You can just unload the truck, but we got an automated truck who can drive and who can take this food here, even though the automated truck can't do everything that a human does. But when they hear people saying the things that Bawana just said, they don't need you no more, that's part of their plan. And they want us to buy into their plan. So then it's easy to move us out of the way. So should a McDonald's worker make $25 an hour? You're damn right. If the worker can't make $25 an hour, and I was a small business, and I can just talk about what I would give the people that work with me. But if the worker can make 25, if the owner can make billions and billions, yes, the worker should be able to have a decent living, and have not just a decent living, and have a work-life balance. You shouldn't have to be at work 60, 70 hours a week. I need overtime to make it. It should already be there. If you're making this much money, the worker should be, so they can live a life, too. People have jobs today where they can go in and literally finish their work in 4 hours, but have to be there 8, 9 hours to continue to get paid. Why? Why is it that these owners, these billionaires, because they're a billionaire, can do what they want to do, and the workers have no rights? And that's why I was saying I agree with Black Steel at. They do, because when we look at it, we were the majority of the workers. Now they are replacing, and then some of us, Buana, then bought into they don't need people no more. Just mash a button. They're gonna have a robot. I got a friend in Ohio. Her warehouse laid off half of the warehouse. What she say? It was 90% of the people laid off was black because they brought in robots because they don't need people. They brought in robots who can take stuff down off the shelf and put them down, and then the people putting them in boxes. But what those people don't understand is you kept your job, but eventually they're gonna have a robot that can put it in the box. And I'm gonna go back to you, Bawana, when they lose their job and say, see, Bawana, when you said they don't need workers, you can just smash a button. I'm gonna say these people heard you and just went ahead with their plan. I'm gonna blame you for everything, Bawana.
Bakram, I'm gonna make you a communist, man. Keep working. You almost there, Bakram. Remember the communist how you get, sir.
Only because we gotta move on. I'll leave this issue until another time. Cool. Only because we gotta move on, bro.
Yeah, Buana sounded very happy when he said they ain't gonna need people soon enough. It reminded me of the white boy. I think Kofi might have played this a month ago. That white boy was talking about we gotta give them pain. We gotta raise unemployment. I mean, think about that for a second. A motherfucker gonna artificially raise unemployment to remind people who's the boss, make them feel pain. So fuck with how I live, just to reestablish some dominance over me. That's a very slippery slope. You got to be careful of that. Thanks everyone on that one. I did have a follow-up, but the prompt went kind of long. In the future, let's talk about the Gavi model a little bit more that Trigger Happy alluded to. Let's talk about what Afro-Native World alluded to as well from Chancellor Williams. Let's talk about those things. So if you're on the Discord, create a prompt for that. That'll be great. We can talk about these things a little longer in the future. Shout out to the Forecasts who joined us saying what's up. Shout out to Real Black Gentleman who's out there. He said they're capitalists and they're monopolists. And shout out to anyone else who's out there who I'm not aware of. Let's move on to the Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 tonight. Good discussion to start it off. I appreciated it. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says a black game development studio owner speaks on the harassment they have received for their game. Did he go far enough? This came with a link that's taking us to Twitter. And this is a 5.5 minute video, so we'll watch it and then we'll comment on it.
We're here now. Look, since the beginning of my career, there's always been someone who's made me feel like I didn't deserve the opportunity I got. From Assassin's Creed to Raised by Wolves, I've had to ignore people saying that it wasn't the work that got me the opportunities. No, it was simply because I'm black. And look, I've turned the other cheek and just kept doing my thing. Even when people were saying, oh, the only reason why he's been cast as father in Raised by Wolves is because the character's a service model. Some of these comments, a few of them you can just brush off. But when it's a constant barrage of them, it's exhausting. So when I look at Zhao, it's reached this fever pitch. And look, don't get me wrong, right? There has been so much amazing and beautiful support for this game. The fact that it has inspired so many people and touched, so many lives. It was one of our goals from the outset to have this positive impact, right? But at the same time, we are being faced with constant targeted harassment from people who see diversity as a threat, from people who look across the vast landscape of modern media and decide that anything that doesn't speak to them or centers around them is unnecessary and inauthentic. And look, there's always a reason why diverse stories can't exist. You know, it's always either we're doing it the wrong way, or it's just there to tick boxes. And it's just beginning to feel like, you know, there is no right way. You know, these exclusionary rules just continue to stack up, and the goalposts continue to shift until, you know, me, my studio, people who look like us, just sit down, be quiet, and just accept the fact that you're outsiders. But I won't do that. So look, if there are people who aren't like you in a game, you know, I want you to know that that game is still for you. You know, if the characters are a different race or a different gender or a different, you know, ideology or a different perspective, that, you know, that doesn't mean that the game isn't for you. It can still be for you. You know, it's an opportunity to live in rich new worlds, to explore different perspectives, you know, to explore, you know, different cultures, like, and all the while, you're playing a decent game. These games are opportunities to experience something different, something new. You just need to be open to it. Look, games are a medium unlike any other. And, you know, in all aspects, they have this potential to have this profound impact on not only the people who make them, but who play them. Now, I really believe games are for everyone. I mean, that's why I insisted on setting Zal's cost at the price of pizza. So, look, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So starting today on Switch, shout out to Nintendo for acting fast on this. You know, I'm lowering that bar of entry further, dropping the price of. Now, I genuinely believe in the power that games have to bring us close together, and I believe that, you know, this is, you know, just one way that I can show you how serious I am about this. Look, games are for everyone. Like, diverse games, then they're not about taking something away from you. They're about adding something in, because there's room for all of us. And look, I'm working with the team in bringing this discount to all platforms, and it's going to start from now to the end of June, because, you know, it just means so much to me, man. And look, let me just take this opportunity as well to actually speak to the developers out there that have actually dedicated themselves to making games that speak to different audiences and tell, you know, personal stories that uplift the marginalized. So important today. And you know, whether, you know, you realize it or not, you are actually setting an example for the next generation of developers, of creators, of artists. Just take that in. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
So, as Black Steel said in the chat, he said the game is called Zao, that his team developed. I looked it up, and I think it's a little bit long. I think it's Tales of Kenzura, Zao. Let me see if I can share this. So this seems to be what the game looks like. I'm not going to play any video. I don't need another strike. By the way, episode 150 is back up, but I had to take out the stuff from ABC, from the ABC show. I can't remember the name right now. What would you do? I had to take it out, so you could go back and check it out. But this is what the gameplay looks like. There's a black lead, in a in a fantasy game. So in the chat, Juana says this is a marketing campaign. All right, well, Juana, talk about it.
Yeah, I either it's two things. I think that it is a strategic marketing campaign to appeal to a certain audience, people who don't want to be perceived as racist or racialist, people who want to be inclusionary and all these kind of liberal kind of ideas and things about the world. I think that he is, um, when people hear this kind of promotion, they're gonna jump about it because of that. They're gonna say, well, I don't think that way, so they're gonna buy it on the strength of that. It's almost like the black guy. It's almost like the black guy who was told when he goes into an expensive car store, well, you can't afford this. So the black guy feels a certain way. It's like, oh, I can afford it. Let me buy 3 of them. So it's like, it's strategically done like that, I feel, or it could be a situation where he's just an integrationist. He wants to be accepted by the whole racist side, because some of these gamers are extremely racist, by the way. So, he want to be accepted by the whole gaming community and things of that nature. Understanding he sounds like he's somebody. He sounds like he's a black Brit. A lot of them have identity issues and issues of trying to be included within the greater society. I don't understand that, because there are many black gamers. There are many people in the Caribbean who game. There are many people in the African world who game. There are many people in the black world in the United States who game as well. Why don't you find other kinds of markets? They like to play. Oni is a gamer. Oni could have, he had spent his coin on something like this. So I don't understand. And if the game is good, stand on the fact that the game is good. People are gonna buy it if it's good. The word of mouth gets around very quickly. Have you seen this shit? Have you seen this? The Japanese market, they'll buy the shit, and they'll buy, especially if it have cultural aspects of us inside of it. They would buy that right away. It's like, you're not, if his goal and aim and ambition is to be accepted by the European markets, because we all dealing with economies. And if you really want to be accepted by the European market, understand you have to write a script that is conducive to stroking their egos. They want to be perceived as the heroes. So if you write a heroine type of story with a black face on it, they'll always question it. Always. Because that's how that's how the machine and those societies run. And if you go against the grain, it's almost like saying having a movie with a black Jesus lead. It does not compute for them. They need that ego stroke. But if you create that scenario, and many black people wouldn't go for it, But I think that with the invention of hip hop and our musical genres and the scripts, the narratives we've created, whatever, if the shit is hot, people are gonna buy it, and even if it takes word of mouth. But I say try different economies. Don't only stay in the European markets and sell in your game, because people around the black world also buy these products as well. Stop being stifled and limiting yourself. Goodness, man. It's irritating sometimes with these tragic integrationist conversations of inclusion when there's other markets of scale out there where they can address and go into and make a whole lot of money too. And then when the word of mouth gets out there, if the shit is good, it's going to sell in the European markets as well. This is how hip hop was made. Hip hop wasn't made for white folks initially. Hip hop was made for the people within the community. The music was just good enough to be able to be transitional all across different markets. And they couldn't say no. So what they did, they started to put money behind it. But I just think that this is if it's not a strategic marketing campaign, this idea of trying to be included, I think that he needs to broaden his tents and he needs to look and investigate different markets. You're not going to be stifled. Yes, you're going to always have white people question your ability if you exist in a certain space in a certain market, but continue searching for other markets where your talents and your skills will not be questioned. They go love your product that you produce it and willing to give you an air for it. The European market is not the only market. People need to understand that the world is bigger than the United States, Canada, and the UK. You need to think beyond that now. You're living in a globalized world. But that's my spill. I'll leave it there.
Much appreciated, Buana. In the chat, Trigger Happy 262 said a few things, but this one really caught my eye. He says, obviously, if someone wants to make a living, you probably want other races playing your game or consuming your stories. But it should be all about improving the imagery of Black people. And that's the thing. And I've been telling you all for a little while now, that's one of my thoughts as far as like where to really put my energies into. I think that creative route is the route, and I think it's supposed to be about the uplift of your people first and foremost. I understand you want to make your dough, but like Juan was saying, you can make good money right within your community, your global community of Black equals African people. Once that game is hitting, Black folks, and you push it to Black folks, it uplifts them in general. You'll make your money. And like Juana said, once it gets hot like that, and Black folks is out here pushing it, other races will come along and buy it too. You'll begin to maximize your profit potential. You know, but it's such a strange thing that our first go-to is that, hey, white folk, why aren't you helping me out? You know? With all of that said, though, Black Steel, what say you?
So a little background on this brother here. He was the lead voice actor in the Assassin's Creed Origins game. He was the voice of the character Bayek. He's been in a couple shows, TV shows. He's done voice acting for a while. So he's pretty good at his craft. I really enjoyed that game. But what he's referring to is the fact that his game is getting bombed on reviews. So people aren't playing the game, but they're going onto the review site like Steam and Xbox and whatnot, PlayStation, and they're downvoting the game. They're giving the game 1 star. Not because of the quality of the game, but just to say, it's just what's the buzzword now? DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. See critical race theory. You know how these white people have buzzwords. So they're downvoting the game. They're insulting, disrespecting the developers online. It's been a big deal. So I never thought of how Buana says it's a marketing scheme, and I kind of looking at it from that perspective. Yeah, now hey people, show you're not racist by buying my game. But I do think it speaks to his frustration as a developer, as someone who works in this capacity, to have your work constantly being attacked. But then I think also too that underscores your other point about the need for integration. He wants white people to see the value of his work. He says games are for everybody, and if I paid my money to buy this system, it's for me. I paid the price for entry. You got damn right, it's for me. I'm playing my game the way I want to. But at the same time, he's also dealing with some people whose whole identity is created in these little make-believe worlds. They don't just play it as a hobby. Hey, get on your game, play for a little bit, cut the game off. That's fine. It's like people cut TV on, watch the game. That's fine. These people's entire sense of self is caught up in this game. And like, if they don't see themselves as the hero, they can't see themselves as the hero. So as Black people who've been playing, I've been playing video games my whole life. Mario ain't Black. How many millions of Black kids play Mario? Goku from Dragon Ball Z ain't Black, but yeah, every Black kid in the hood loves Goku from Dragon Ball Z. You could cut these games on, you could be whoever you want to be, but we don't break down the way these crackers do. Oh, you got a Black person, it's DEI. Oh, it's critical race theory. It's destroying games. It's woke. The woke virus is destroying art. That's what Elon Musk said about Star Wars because he had a Black female Jedi. Oh, this woke mind virus is destroying everything. And then he's speaking to also too about people saying, if you want Black people to be in games, make original Black characters. And he did that, and they're still coming for him. what this brother, and I respect him, I enjoy his work, but at heart, he wants to be accepted. He wants his game development studio, which is a black game development studio, to be treated the same way you would treat Sony or Microsoft or Rockstar, or Capcom, or anybody else, And he doesn't realize that these crackers is racist. It doesn't, and the game is genuinely a good game. I played it. It's an excellent platformer. All right. It's a story is compelling. It's great, but it doesn't matter how good your work is, bro. You are a black man in a racist society. Just to trigger Happy's point, don't make the game for them. Be unapologetic. Now the thing is, it's in a mainstream video game character, right? If you was to be unapologetically black, look, this game ain't even for y'all crackers. This game is for us. He would be destroyed. I think it would be career suicide. So maybe don't be so loud with it. But real talk, continue doing what you're doing. You've ignored it, continue to ignore it. People gonna have something to say anyway, no matter what you do. If you black, they're gonna have something to say whether your game is good, whether the game is bad, whether the game, even now they're talking about putting the black samurai, which was a historical person in Assassin's Creed. Oh my God, you should hear the hatred. Oh, it's well, even what's his name, Elon Musk, the Afrikaner, because he was a South African, he's a racist. Oh, the woke mind virus is destroying art. Who is he? But do your work, brother. Make the game good. He even cut the price to make the game more accessible to people. It's not the price was not the barrier of entry. The price was the fact that you got a black protagonist and you're not willing to deal with the fact that you got a lot of racist white boys out there.
He
Okay.
but he no, Black Steel. He has help, just as these racists use Elon Musk of the world, who's an influencer. Use the influencers. I know we don't like them, but use the influencers. Who you got? Give me. Let me see if I can hook up with 50 cents them to get them to say, "Oh, my son has played a shit." Get your own black influencers who could get behind you and back your shit. Because they have a sounding board as well. Imagine if Jay-Z say that what her name is, Blue Ivy or whatever, is play his game all the time. You know what kind of promotion that is? I mean, do some networking, do some groundwork, and see if you could to get close to people who are also influential to push that shit. Stop being lazy. Do your job. Do your due diligence. Assign yourself and associate yourself with people who have just as loud a sounding board as the Elon Musk of the world, because they are influential. Kanye West, I mean, as people really don't like him, but as much as people don't like him, imagine if he started promoting the game. It's done. It's done. But Lee, I didn't want to interrupt you, Black Steve. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. Because 50 Cent actually had a video game that made in his likeness. It didn't do that good. I think it was like in the 2015 or 16, like that. So the fact that Buana you use 50 cents, that's good. 50 cents has connects to video games. So you're absolutely right.
But I have to push back a little bit. From what I understand and from what I observe, I don't think the people who gets Jay-Z his money or 50 Cent his money, they don't allow them to really endorse us any old thing. I'm just going to be real with you. This is why we can't look at these people as our people. They're not allowed to just come up and say, this game, I'm gonna tweet about it and get it out to millions of people. That's not how that works. Their hands are held and they are spanked if they step out and do some shit like that. History has proven that too. But Black Steel, go ahead.
Black Steel, I think you mute maybe.
All right, maybe Black Steel had to step away.
I'm
Kofi,
sorry. I'm sorry. What was the question?
No, it wasn't a question. It was you to continue what you were saying because you were interrupted.
Oh no. I was basically saying, hey, just look at the benefits of working just with your people and just be unapologetic about it. But I also understand that would be career suicide. but maybe not be so loud. But like you said, get 50 Cent. He 50 Cent's a gamer. Snoop Dogg is a gamer. Snoop Dogg be on Xbox playing Call of Duty all the time. Hey Snoop, so you work with kids. Here's a couple copies of my game. Tell me what you think. I think that's a great idea.
Anyone else want to add any last thoughts to the prompt?
Yeah. Basically, I see what he's saying. I mean, his story is a dime a dozen. Black talent, and pretty much outshining the white talent. I mean, it shouldn't look like colors. Just be, hey, this is a man who's just talented. So, I mean, a lot of again, I told you before, I'm a gamer, and my sons, they want to be gamers. Whatever gaming studio that he works for, that's just it. There's certain games that I don't play because of the series like Assassin's Creed. I think he mentioned Assassin's Creed. They have they got Arabs, they got Italians, and then they had Arab plane, an Egyptian. Then they do the Vikings. I'm like, nah, this shit is racist, But like I was saying, what Buana said, if you get connections, right? And put it like this, like Jay-Z, he won, what was that thing he had? That's like Spotify, right? He will hire his own people. Money talks, bullshit walks, right? White people don't give a damn about you until, you throwing some money their way or whatever, right? Our whole thing is to us to have at least some capital. Now we have capital. Now we can't do anything. I really don't believe that too much, right? Because Jay-Z he has the reason, he hires all these people, right? Most of them white, right? But guess what? He sets the tone of what the project is going to be, right? Because he hired them. If he can't find them, then you're always going to find somebody like that. So what I'm saying, what this guy needs to do, and I kind of agree with the panel, find someone like, an influencer like Snoop Dogg, someone who's to gaming. They had, again, I'm a gamer. They had a game in the early 2000s made by Def Jam Fight Night, right? It was a bunch of black people because it had Elephant Man, Red Man, Method Man, a whole bunch of artists. It was one of my favorite games because it had a lot of black people in it. You get like, hey, look, who made this game, right? What's the studio that made this game, right? Get a real black gamer. Like, hey, look, can you just make up your own studio, or can you hire the studio to make this game for you? And you know what? You'll be the head of this project for this game, black man. It will be you because it's your vision. It's what you want. That could be done. I'm not saying that I don't see a company turning down money. You know what I'm saying? Even racists take your money now. That's what the civil rights was about sometime. Was about one of those things. No. I want you to take my black money, right? Give me your money, nigger. Like they're gonna take it anyway and provide you goods and services. So pretty much, I hear what he's saying, but you can't. There's if he was well connected, I think he could overshadow that. But I don't think he could do much within that space that he's in because they set the tone. You're just a worker bee, and that's it. So that's pretty much what I got to say.
Appreciate that, Kofi. In the chat, Afro-Native World says the Japanese said, let's make white characters and sell it to white folk. Equals Mario, for example, and everyone else. If there's no other thoughts there, let's go to Should Breeze topic number 3 tonight. Should Breeze topic number 3 tonight says, why don't we call this tribalist, racist, nationalist? Why do we only call this religious? What is this? This is an attachment that's taking us back to Twitter. I'll share my screen once it comes up. So here's this. Sorry about that. Let me fix this real quick. Here's this tweet. That says it's from Dr. Anastasia Maria Lopez. It says, your greatest ally with the American flag. So this is a meme since Jewish Talmud. I guess these are their religious books. So Sophorim 15 says, even the best of Goyim should all be killed. Yebamoth 98a says all children of Goyim are animals. Baba Mezia, I guess that's page 114, says Gentiles, quote unquote, goys, are not humans, they are beasts. Gad Shas says a Jew may violate but not marry a non-Jew girl. Abuda Zara says Gentile, quote unquote, goy girls are in a state of nida, filth, from birth. The Sanhedrin says a Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. Baba Kama says Jews may use lies to circumvent a quote-unquote goy Gentile. Abuda Zara says Gentiles, quote-unquote goys, prefer sex with cows. Baba Mezia, these are all teachers and books and stuff. Baba Mezia says if a Jew finds an object lost by a Gentile, it does not have to be returned. Tospoth, Jebamoth, says if you eat with a Gentile, it's the same as eating with a dog. Sanhedrin says when a Jew murders a Gentile, there'll be no death penalty. Finally, Sanhedrin says if a Gentile hits a Jew, he must be killed. Right? If a Gentile hits a Jew, he must be killed. So these are in their religious text, the Jewish Talmud, which is very interesting. We never, as the prompt suggests, we don't call these people tribalists, racists, or nationalists. We only really call them religious. Why is that really? Let me start with Kofi this time. Kofi, what say you to that?
We can pass. You pass the mic on. I'll be back.
All right, Kofi. Black Seal, what say you to it?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh man. So, geez Louise. Oh, it's definitely racist. I mean, what more could you say? People don't really know about the Talmud. How many people have read the Talmud before? I just, after reading this stuff, this is something that, and you gotta be careful with this because they will definitely gonna accuse you of anti-Semitism when it comes to stuff like this. I've never read the Talmud, so I honestly don't know. But yeah, of course, this is. I mean, think about it. The Jews are. I mean, historically speaking, what the tribes of Israel, of course, is tribalism. I think you find plenty of tribalism in the Talmud in the Bible, in ancient holy texts. That's what it is. We don't call it that because a lot of people don't know it. But this is what a lot of the people who are anti-Semitic have been calling it for years. Heck, what did Martin Luther had a book called, Martin Luther King, but the original Martin Luther, who nailed the thing to the church back in the 16th century. He had a book called On the Jews and Their Lies, right? So this is something that may have been known, especially among European Christianity previously, that Jewish people said this and they felt this way, which has led to a lot of anti-Semitic thoughts and process. But I mean, reading this without any knowledge outside of it, heck yeah, this is racist. Heck yeah, it's tribalist. It's not religion. But what God is saying, where is it that God is saying this? Gentiles are not human. Who's saying is this God? Is this Jehovah who's giving this? Or is it something that you are saying yourselves? I don't see anything in here that this is coming from God. This is something that historically speaking, Jewish people didn't have the power to exact. Now things are a lot different now than they were back in the day. But yeah, and I think also this idea of some sort of Jewish superiority. The Jews are God's chosen people, right? That idea in itself is a racist idea Because what is it that your God created everybody, right? But he just likes y'all best. What type of God plays favorites? If I was as a parent, if I choose which of my children is my favorite child, right? You would say that's a bad parent, right? It was wrong with this, but he's a bad dad. But you taking your daughter to the movies, you leave your son at home. You beat your son, but you don't spend time. You don't spend time with your son, but you would say this is a bad father. You would. So I think well, we have to realize that inherently these ideas are the result of human beings. You know, quote John Henry Clark again: "All chosen people chose themselves." Right. So these are people who created these myths to justify whatever ideologies or whatever belief system they needed at the time, and that's what this is a reflection of. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm ready now.
All right, Kofi, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I like that Black still. I never caught John Henry Clark saying that, but that sounds like a John Henry Clark thing to say. Yeah. Yeah, when we read these things, to me, since religion is kind of like, has to be very, very heavy in religion for those of you that don't know. So I took it very seriously until I took a look at it very honestly. And this is not surprising to me because we're talking about a people that didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as a biblical Hebrew, right? There's no John, there's no Luke, there's no Solomon, there's none of that. There's no disciples, there's none of that, right? There's no Jesus, there's no Moses, there's no Abraham. These are mythical characters, mythical beings. But when you read the Talmud and the Tanakh and on these Hebrew books, you have to understand when they were being written for, right? It's their God, right? So it's Jehovah, right? Jehovah Jireh, right? The Most High. He's the Most High God, which just tells you there's other gods, but He is the Most High God, right? So, perfect example. This is probably like pretty much like the 11th commandment stuff you see over here. People don't understand. A lot of Christians and a lot of a lot of Christians and a lot of Muslims, right, think that the Ten Commandments for everybody. No, it is not. Ten Commandment is very cultish. Is very about my people, right? About my people. The Ten Commandments is for Jewish people only. When you read it in the beginning, it says, "Thou shalt have no other God but me." The first several commandments is about you not worshiping other gods, having idols, right? Then the commandments is like, "Thou shalt not, thou shalt not steal." But when they talk about that, they talk about amongst each other. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife amongst each other. This is not a Confucius sayings. You know what I'm saying? This is not a do unto others that do unto you. It's like it's something that's just for everybody. This is for Jewish people only. That's why they made up Gentiles and you got Jews, right? Because you're supposed to treat each other with the utmost respect. Everybody else doesn't matter, right? So even after the Ten Commandments was over, after they quote unquote left Egypt, right? And they were in the wilderness, when God promised them the land of milk and honey, they were like, okay, there's a land over there. All of a sudden, God's powers doesn't fucking work no more. He did all these plagues and split the fucking Red Sea, gave Moses the ability to do all that and turned the Nile into blood and all this dumb shit. But when he's like, okay, there's a land over there for you, milk and honey, go get it. He told you you're able to rape, pillage, kill, everything. Whatever's not there is yours. Go get it, right? And that just shows you the stark difference of how God sees people. That's why he's his chosen people. His chosen people. That's what he's for. So when he went into when God went into so when Moses was in there, right? They went to free Moses because Moses is his people. And when Moses found out that he's a quote unquote Israelite or whatever, oh, these are my people in bondage. Christianity and the Jewish faith is not here to save the world. That's why everybody wants to be a part of the chosen people. So when I see these things, I mean, which is this is the most un-African thing that you see here is talking bad about women, talking things about rape, talking about how unclean. I think in Deuteronomy, I don't know the exact number, but it said the woman has a child and it's a boy, she's unclean for 2 weeks. If she has a girl, she's unclean for 6 weeks. Right? It's a lot of disgusting things that's in there, but these are for Jewish people and Jewish people alone. Right? Think about it. The only people there is trying to get people into their fold are Christians. There's no bunch of Jews saying, hey, why don't you come to temple? There's no Muslims saying, hey, why don't you come to mosque? They're their own club. Christianity is on this whole thing about, oh, if you come into my fold, then I'll save you bullshit. But again, go back to the topic. Yes, it's a cult. It is a cult, and it should be pretty much called out for what it is. But I mean, I can talk about religion all day, but I'll land my plane right here. I'll pass the mic.
Appreciate that, Kofi. I appreciate your you're going into some of your experiences too with this stuff and some of your understanding. So I appreciate that. In the chat, Anthony McPhail, our boy Anthony's out there in the chat. I guess he's watching the fight tonight too. He says the Talmud created the Hamitic myth, the basis of anti-blackness in Western philosophy. Earlier, I'll just read this one comment. Trigavi 262 Plus says, I think it's called religious because of the diversity in those who are of the Judaic faith. But what should also be said is religious communities are supranational communities. So I'll leave it there. With that said, let me hear from Buana. Buana, you've seen everything everyone else had to say. What say you?
Yes, sir. So I'm going to try to be as sensitive as with this topic as much as possible. But to my Christian brothers, and I know it's a lot of Christian brothers, yeah, who listen to us, and even Muslim brothers. You know, I used to, when I was searching in my life, you know, I was born into the Christian church because, you know, the Bahamas is pretty much a Christian country. And then, you know, in my experiences, I went into the Muslim community, and I was in that for a minute. You know what I mean? I was really studying these ideas and certain things about the world for a long time. Even take my shahada at one point in my life. So I look at the Abrahamic religions, and I had to step back within my own self, really to evaluate the Abrahamic religions. And there is something wrong with the Abrahamic religions. And I think that our people really need to evaluate what it is that they're reading and internalizing. Because if this is a holy book, you really have to question the holiness of this. you have to question the God who would write these kinds of things, you know, on paper for people to consume. I mean, it's really so far out there. I don't know. You have some Hebrew Israelites, people who call themselves Hebrew Israelites. I don't know if they would have read these kinds of things in their holy book and say, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Something is very wrong with this to say that it's okay to rape, have sex with someone who is 9 years old and under, and say a God or a spiritual being would write that in a book. And your logical mind looking at that and say, you remove your logical mind and say, well, something have to be religiously within that I could put. Something is wrong with that picture. And I think that all of us in the Black world, you know, need to evaluate the Abrahamic religions. I understand that many of our brothers are not on that job as far as African spiritualists, because these people, like Koku say, that the Abrahamic community, the Hebrews, don't necessarily proselytize. Well, the Hebrew Israelites do, but these people, these formal Jewish people, don't proselytize and go out in the streets. But the Muslims sure do, and so do the Christians. They proselytize heavy. They proselytize heavy. But they doing their job. But I would say that there needs to be an alternative view of the world that is dealing with spiritual aspects of life, that and an alternative where Black people really could evaluate and have an option, because this shouldn't be the ultimate option for our people, because our people love this spiritual belief in God and the mysticism and all that it comes with. And I think that they should be provided with an alternative. And it can't be this, because this is just ridiculous. I mean, really and truly, man. Really and truly. And the brothers say it's not for us. It's really not for us. Every community has their own degree of spirituality and spiritualism. This community has it. The Indian community has Krishna and Buddha and all. The Chinese have Buddhism and Shintoism and Taoism. And the Black community, what we get? We get the Abrahamic religions, which is some 2,000-year-old throwback that really don't even deal with the human mind. It's just dealing with this psychopathic being that's existed in the sky, that is only satisfied with torment, rape, torture, and genocide. That's the only way to please this psychopath in the sky. And we have to go after this and believe in our minds, configure our mind as this is reasonable. This is trash. I don't understand it. Well, let me not say it's trash. I don't understand it, and I don't understand that. I understand that our people want to believe in something bigger than ourselves, but this is not it. This is the reason why my brethren who get on me sometimes when we talk about Palestine and these issues and things like when I read this document, I understand why they murdering the children them in Palestine and feeling okay about it and feeling good about. They believe them children are dogs and less than human after consuming this nonsense. So I could read this and say, well, I understand why genocide happening. That's a prelude to genocide if I internalize this nonsense. It's nonsense. Which God on the world, in the universe, could come up with this kind of nonsense, man? I don't understand. I really don't understand. But like I say, I think that the brothers who get on me all the time, my African spiritualists, you all need to do the job of proselytizing to provide a proper alternative for our people, because this is not it. This is not it. But I'll leave it, Coco, for you to go, brother.
Yeah, like they say in the States, this ain't our shit. We really need to get away from this thing. And what we gotta strategize really is how can we infiltrate these religions? How can we get to the minds of the people whose job is to convey this stuff, like the priests and stuff? How can we get to these Christian councils in these different countries and the Islamic council? Like how do we get to these folks to say, hey, because I think personally, you're not going to get people to get off of the tit of this Abrahamic religion stuff just like that. You're going to have to try to get in there and at least get them to preach the blackness of these religions. You know how we have a lot of people who do the mental gymnastics to make Christianity African and all that. At least let's blacken up Jesus to begin with. Let's go to that. And then let's start pulling out the Africanisms that allegedly are in the Bible. Let's promote that again. I think, a strategy like that, gradually, bit by bit, it'll take some time. It'll take decades, right? If not centuries. It'll take some time. But you gotta get back. You gotta start pushing back against this stuff. You gotta start pushing back, and hopefully you push back to a certain extent, and the people will then start to find our original spiritualities and our thoughts on creation and all that stuff. So I'll leave it there. If there's any other last thoughts, go ahead now.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Coco. Dr. John Henry Clark said, if you cannot use religion as an instrument of revolution, dash it away in the ash can of history. But when it comes to blackening up something that's so anti-African, I can't. And I picture myself as a female. So imagine you're a female and you get to, let's say, if you make it to the New Testament, women are just vile. Women are the reason for sin. Women are deceptive. Look at Delilah, right? Look at I forgot the Rebecca helping the son steal the blessing away from the other one, right? I have to wait till we get
look at Eve, the first woman, Eve.
That's what I said, Eve. That's why we're in sin. We're in sin because of Eve, right? Then I went to Delilah, right? Then I went to Rebecca stealing, helping her son steal the other son's blessing. I gotta wait till we get to Mary or some women in Judges. And my theory always was, I think that's why there's so many women in the goddamn church, because they feel a little bit more responsible for the fuck up of the universe. The reason why mankind is so messed up. And what did Adam do? Oh, as my wife, I have to stand by you. Okay, I'll eat the apple too. So women come in this, so we're all sinners, but the burden of sin is way more heavy on women. How do you Africanize that? I don't get. You know what I'm saying? I see what you're saying, Kuku. There's certain aspects, and for anybody, put it like this: the Bible is like a fucked up type of way to build a good person. If you're downtrodden and you're in the gutter and you need some inspiration, yeah, the Bible is good, but the Bible has done more harm to Black people than good. There's more of it has way less of a positive influence, because if I give you this book, and from this book I get a good pastor, a good person, he's a productive member of society, he gets the shirt off his back, and then at the same time you got someone who's evil, you know what I'm saying, like a Hitler or the dozens of hundreds of slave masters, how good really is that book? I say get rid of everything. Get rid of everything, get your mind right. But it's obviously something more easier said than done. Look, there's people in my family, they even talk to me about religion. When they do, they go, ooh, okay. Right? And because they know I'm going to have a very serious, no-nonsense conversation. And I'm talking about my elders, talking about my aunts, my uncles, people that are like, because you got to understand the Black community, we revere our mothers, our fathers as well. But in my family, because my grandfather passed early on my mother and father's side, so every time Granny give me some advice, it's always a biblical scripture, and they always go to Job. Oh, boy, have the faith of Job. Da, 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 da.
She must have been talking to my mother.
Boy, I have the faith of Job now, a mustard seed of faith. And one time I told him, you know what? I have a rather barrel full of knowledge than a mustard, a barrel. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather have a mustard seed full of knowledge than a barrel full of mustard seed full of faith. Faith don't give you shit. If I have knowledge and I know, rather than having faith and wishing, I don't need to have faith and wish if I know something. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at the story of Job, like, wait. God's best right-hand man, his right-hand man, Job, right? God give him all these blessings, give him wife, children, money, land, livestock. And imagine your worst enemy. I don't hate anybody, but imagine someone who just, this person wish you ill will. They want to see your downfall bad. Come to you and say, I bet you if you didn't bless him so much that he will curse your name. Who the fuck are you again? Oh, the person who's trying to destroy my creation? Yo, kick rocks. But no, God's going to say, bet. God's going to say, bet. Do everything you want to do to him, just don't kill him. And God is a sick individual. He did everything to Job, killed his wife, killed his kids, gave him boils, sickness, took away everything from him. But there's a silver lining. Oh, what's the silver lining? oh, God gave him everything back 3 times fold in the multitude. He got a new wife, he got new kids.
So
I like
forget
the
the
ones
other
that
ones.
I had.
Forget the other ones. Forget the
What
other
are you talking about? This is insane. What happened to the ones that I like? And that's my best friend? That's a God that's your best friend? Oh no. Hail Satan. Fuck out of here. Hail Satan. I'll pass the mic. I talk too much.
No, also in that Job story, you know what was so cool, and Kofi kind of touched on it. Oh, I want to say it was last week. In that Job story, you realize that God and the devil are sitting down wagering, Job's life.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a bet going on between them that Job is going to break. He's going to come to the dark side. And I'm like, you killed this man's wife, children, and like one just said, forget about them. He gets back 7 times the children that he had, 7 times 7, and 7 times the wives that he had. But I'm like, you mean to tell me these fuckers are playing a game? We got to get away from this stuff. Now,
No.
and let me just say that I would like to get it, be done with it tomorrow, if possible. In fact, yesterday, if possible. But I just know psychologically the grip that this shit has on our people. I mean, we got a group of our people call themselves Hebrew Israelites. Think about that. The grip that this have, you're not going to be able to pull that book out of these people. They'll want to slit your throat for that shit. So we got to figure out a way how we can gradually, in my opinion, now you guys might say, well, let's bear arms and go make them change their mind. Okay, that's a strategy too. But in my mind, you're going to have to kind of get in those books. And I think Trigger Happy talked about it in an earlier comment too. But yeah, you're going to have to find a way to get in there and try to infuse some kind of Africanisms, African spiritual practices. Like I said before, show them where this thing, because there is some things in the Bible if you read it closely, you'll realize they're talking about like West African shit. The way they eat the bread is like fufu and stuff like that, right? That's not even their shit, but they're talking about it. So that's just my thoughts on that.
I think. Go ahead.
Real quick. In the chat, Trigger Happy said we would have to really get into the different strategies as to how we can get African spiritual practices to dominate in Africa compared to Abrahamic practices. Earlier before that, Afro Native World put this out. He said, who's up for doing an African-centered critique of the Bible? Now, that's an interesting concept. I personally would need more people who are a bit more knowledgeable, maybe more recently knowledgeable in the Bible to do it, but I wouldn't mind hosting it. I wouldn't mind being in that conversation. So if I saw Kofi say me out there in the chat. So if you guys are interested, let's put it together. It could be a project that we build up and make it something kind of fly. Buana, go ahead.
No, I think that a person who does that already is, whether you like him or not, and as controversial as he is, I think that Sanetta does a good job of that with using biblical people who understand where the doctrine has come from and actually have the ability to show the historiography of the Bible and connecting it to Egyptology or Kemetology and West Africa. I think that if you were to reach out to a person like Jabari Osaze or even Kamji Verse, I think that they could draw good connections and even break down the African centerednicity because they study these things. I'm not a proficient at it. I don't know if you have any biblical historic scholars and people who understand the African aspect of where these kinds of ideas come from and to break it down in those kinds of ways. These guys specialize in these kinds of topics. So I think it would be very good to reach out to people like these who have some more historical understanding of where these kinds of ideas come from and could connect the dots historically. I think that would be a very good conversation to have, but I'll leave it.
All right, for time's sake, let's go to Should the Breeze topic number 4 tonight. Good conversation as per usual. Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 tonight is a new Pan-Africanist news show. What topics would y'all like to see? This came with a link that I think is taking us back to Twitter. Let me share my screen with you guys. Just give me one quick second here. Let me share my screen with you guys. Okay, here we go. So this takes us back to Twitter, as you can see. It says some details about our show. So this is a tweet from J. Patrice Ba. I guess I got to open this up. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I missed something. So this was a response to an earlier tweet that says, subscribe to my Substack new podcast, audio and video, on the way. Articles will be posted here too. So there's the link. Let me open up these images and see what's up. So it says, what does on wax mean? On wax is a double entendre. In addition to the common meaning of the phrase to record something or make it official, wax, pronounced wa, is the Wolof word for chat or conversation. Hence the show's slogan, Conversations on Record. So it says, welcome to On Wa, I guess I should say, part talk show, part newscast. Our team of veteran journalists will be covering current events and contemporary pop culture through both free-flowing conversation and structured, fact-based discourse. We will cover these topics from a Pan-African perspective, focusing on topics of interest to Black people all over the world. Multiple languages on WA will be a multilingual program. Most of our content will be in English, but we will regularly include Wolof and occasionally in French and Spanish as well. Conversations on Record on WA will provide informative content through discussion. Our crew has more than 20 years of combined experience working at companies such as NBC, ABC, CBS, and PBS, among others. Members of our staff have degrees in communication, psychology, and journalism. Our guests will include experts in their fields who can speak on our topics from an informed, authoritative perspective. Sounds like KWAZ, but sounds like they are a little bit further along. So yeah, that's the tweet. Pan-African show, covering current events, contemporary pop culture through both free-flowing conversation and structured, fact-based discourse. If anyone's familiar, let me know if you are or not. But by the way, shout out to Real Black Gentleman. I don't know if I shouted him out earlier for being out there. Afro Native World is out there. So yeah, with that said, Kofi, how do you feel about this new Pan-Africanist news show? All right, I guess Kofi left, or his mic is muted. With that, I guess let me go to Black Steel. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on the new Pan-Africanist news show? Okay, I guess everyone's gone. Oh, you guys can't hear me.
I'm here. I can hear you. I can hear you. Cool. So let me speak on the show. They'll come back when they hear me. But I think that this is a Pan-Africanist news show. And my ideas are reserved for the Bitter Medicine podcast. And they try to do podcasting as well. But I understand it, but they need to go do their own work. You know, we here at the Bitter Medicine podcast, we have ideas and we have people who would like to give our ideas on things that we could discuss and talk on. Man, listen, you know, they let WA do their WA work. You know, we doing the same Pan-African work on this talk show. We ain't trying to slight you all. We're trying to slight y'all and trying to subvert what y'all doing, but we are giving Pan-African news all over the world as well. So y'all need to go do your show. Go do your show. But if I was to want to see anything, I would want, as they doing right now, they talking about things that's happening in the black world right now. You see the South African elections, and the main party in South Africa has decided to align with the white party, the Democratic Alliance. That should be fair. South African Parliament to me is one of the most interesting parliaments in the world. That's one of the most interesting parliaments in the world. To see how that functions, that is a very interesting watch. And I would advise anybody to watch that. But to see how they would have aligned with the white party in South Africa, that's going to be interesting going forward. Then you have the French things that's happening in Africa right now with Traore and that group of three different countries that's decided to slide off against the French. Then you have the English speaker. There are many different things you could talk. Even in we was talking about Colombia, how Colombia has its first black vice president, and she's a lawyer. Our Spanish speakers could really have a dialogue and discussion on that, and the things that's happening in the black world. We was just talking about the brother who's doing his work in England and in English-speaking African world and the Caribbean. Then you have the Americas and Canada. So there's so many different topics. You all need to go do your homework instead of trying to get ideas off of the Bit of Medicine podcast and what we think about it. So I ain't giving y'all no ideas. If y'all want to listen to a Pan-African news show, come over here and listen to our news show. How about that? I'll leave it there, Coco.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we do a lot of this work, and you guys don't know this, but one of my disappointments with the Tanzan thing, Tanzan, if you're out there, shout out to you. But one of my disappointments, she was supposed to do the Swahili show, and this way it could have gotten out to more people on the continent itself, but that didn't pan out. I appreciate them speaking Wolof, speaking an actual African language. I wish I knew one to speak it. But we're doing our work, and we're continuing with it. We're gonna keep building. I talked about it at the very top of the show that I'm back on my recruitment thing of trying to get more varied thought leaders who are Pan-Africanist, Nationalists, Gaviites, to be on here, men and women, black men and black women. So hopefully you guys will keep an eye and an ear out. I know Bwana just sent me someone to check out recently. I'll do that. I'll reach out to them eventually. So yeah, just help us build what we got going on here too. These are guys who we're journalists. We're not journalists per se. We're people who are Gaviites and Pan-Africans and who are thinking about solutions to our problems. So I hope you guys continue to hang around with us. Join the Discord. Put up your topics to discuss. If you have ideas like analyzing the Abrahamic religions and Africans and Africanness, I guess, or blackness, come and participate. Help us put it together. Actually today, just quickly, I'm still waiting to see if Black Steel and Kofi are around. If you guys are around, say something in the private chat. But
I'm back, Koku.
All right. Just today, I was thinking about. I want to do something. I want to do a topic, like a Pan-African type topic that has different segments that we could do on a weekend or something, and we could jump from different channels. So maybe we start here, and next we'll be on Oni's channel to do the next leg of the conversation. But that all requires coordination. Everyone has to kind of pull their weight with that stuff, and we'll need people to help organize it. But I think that could be something really good. Something similar to when they had the centennial celebration for Marcus Garvey a few years back. I know Oni was a part of that panel too. The brother Omowale Africa put that together, Nation State of Mind. And it was good. It was good. I got shut out of some of the programs, but it was good. It'd be nice for KWAZ Radio to do something like that and have that here on the internet for people in the future to come across and learn something else, for themselves. Black Steel is back. Black Steel, a new Pan-Africanist news show. What topics would you like to see? What say you?
Well, I want to see more about what's going on, some of the threats and issues that face our people. So I want to hear more news about what's going on in Congo, Sudan, and Haiti, but from a Pan-African perspective, right? Much of the news we receive is from a Eurocentric view. So I definitely want to see more about that. More, just a variety of topics, just based on our perspective, right? So we're talking. I mentioned the news, talking about politics, heck, religion, economics, all these topics we have, but I really want them to address our particular standpoint of these issues and have it come to the forefront, and not whitewash Black people, but actual Pan-Africanists who believe in the union of African people and that understand that we don't all got to get, as long as we're working towards a common goal, we're not going to see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay. But just to highlight more so our similarities more than our differences should, to me, be most important.
Well said. Well said. And for you guys out there who are listening in the playback or even live, a lot of you guys know more channels on YouTube than I do, to be quite frank. One of the things I find difficult is finding folks who do similar stuff to us, but they're in a different country on the continent. So who's like us? Who's the bitter medicine? Small channel perhaps, but who's the bitter medicine in the Congo? Right? Who's the pro-Black perspective in Ghana? Who's the brother Bakari? In Burkina Faso. Like, it'd be nice to have someone on the ground in these places closer to what's going on who can be that voice, even if they have to speak it in their own language or if they're bilingual or whatever, who can give us that information. That really would be the move. And it's so difficult, I find, to have these conversations with people across these distances. It seems like you got to go to these countries and recruit, and I don't think that's necessary. I think we should be able to find someone who has ideas and thoughts and feelings about what's happening. Look, Buana's in the Bahamas. He could tell us his ideas, his thoughts and feelings of what's going on in the ground down there. Like he told us earlier about the Electricum, right, which I'm familiar with. Right. So who is these people and why is it so difficult to find them and connect with? Maybe you guys might know. Kofi left.
Yeah, Coco. What I have tried to do is, and this is the way I have done it, is when I am on the internet and I hear some voices that they given information that sounds similar to what we say, then I would try to find their email number. And I would invite them either on the show or to have a listen to our content, because the content is there already. So if they have an attraction to the content, they'll leave that's how I get many of these people who come on right now. When they hear the content that is already there, they take an interest in it. They want to either participate or do something about what we do already, because there's so much content that we have already done put out there. So I think it's as easy as an email. You'll be very surprised because you don't have to go to Ghana. You just email the person, find out their email address, and just write them an email, and just direct them to the content that's already here. And if they take an interest in it, they'll reach out. They'll want to, or even invite them onto the show. Tell them what it is that you do, who you are, and invite them onto the show. 1 week of listening to Black Steel, and they'll be hooked. 1 week of listening to Brother Bakari, if their content is similar to what we already put out there, they'll be very attracted to what we're trying to do. and that'll foster, and that's what I call networking and reaching out. So I think that if people under the sound of my voice who would like to see that businesses grow, who would like to see this channel grow, just reach out. It's as simple as an email. When you all hear people who have an attraction to the things that we say, but they might not be been exposed to the Better Medicine podcast, this is how you make unique connections around the world. And you'll be very surprised how far you'll get with that idea of networking. But I just wanted to put that little bug on the listeners here who do it, like Trigger Happy, who's in Ghana right now, and KW Dawn 7, all my brothers out there and under the sound of my voice. This is how you do the networking job and getting people to participate. And this is how you find stronger connections and bonds and build your message and take it out there to the world. But I'll leave it there.
Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, and kudos to Buana. Buana, you guys don't realize, but a lot of the people, like Buana just said, like Kofi, for example, is here through Buana. Bakari is here through Buana. Forecast, like the list goes on. A lot of people, some people who be in the chat who be kind of quiet, but Buana made connections with them and they came. And by the way, let me just say this too. I respond to emails. A lot of times when I email people, they don't respond. But I respond to emails. So tell the people, shoot me an email, bitter.medicine@gmail.com, and let's have that discussion. I could point them to where they could hear a lot of our topics, a lot of the good ones at that, and they can also join the fray. If there's no other last thoughts on this prompt. KW7 says Keith Newsom has the Black Hot Fire Network with a studio in Kenya and Uganda. I like that. How many people here? Drop a 1 if you're familiar with Keith Newsom and the Black Hot Fire Network. Right? Afro Native World says he just subbed to that channel, so that's good. Check him out. I appreciate that. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 5. This is the final topic for the night. We're going to end at 11 thereabouts. Shooter Breeze topic number 5 says differential treatment in dating. Differential treatment in dating. This came with a link that's going to take us to Instagram. Let me set this up. Yeah, it takes us to Instagram. Let me share my screen. What we'll do is as usual, we'll watch it. And then we will comment on it. I might play it twice or 3 times. We'll see.
White women. They want to lick their feet. They want to wash the plates for them. They want to cook for them. They want to teach them how to cook the Nigerian delicacies. They want to worship them. They want to treat them like queens. But when they are with our Nigerian women, as a Nigerian woman, if they want to propose to you, you first of all pack your loot to their mother's house. Their mother will have to evaluate you. She will have to check you to see if your wife material enough for them. You have to get there, wash the plates, mop the whole compound, wash the fence, wash the whole community plates, wash the gates, go and mop the ocean to be able to confirm if your wife material enough. But when it's a white woman, in fact, the reverse is the case. They want to worship her. In fact, when the white woman comes to the man's family house, the man would even tell his siblings and his mother, oh, please do not mind the way you behave around her so that you don't piss her off. But when it's a Nigerian woman, in fact, the guy will want to, make his brothers offend her so that, the girl will act a certain way so that he will now say, you see, I said it. Look at who I married. Look at the wife I married. We see all of these things.
One more time.
When our Nigerian men marry these white women, they want to lick their feet. They want to wash the plates for them. They want to cook for them. They want to teach them how to cook the Nigerian delicacies. They want to worship them. They want to treat them like queens. But when they are with our Nigerian women, As a Nigerian woman, if they want to propose to you, as you first of all pack your loot to their mother's house, their mother will have to evaluate you. She will have to check you to see if your wife material enough for them. You have to get there, wash the plates, mop the whole compound, wash the fence, wash the whole community plates, wash the gates, go and mop the ocean to be able to confirm if your wife material enough. But when it's a white woman, in fact, the reverse is the case. They want to worship her. In fact, when the white woman comes to the man's family house, the man will even tell his siblings and his mother, oh, please do not mind the way you behave around her so that you don't piss her off. But when it's a Nigerian woman, oh, in fact, the guy will want to, make his brothers offend her so that, the girl will act a certain way so that he will now say, you see, I said it. Look at who I married. Look at the wife I married. We see all of these things.
We see all of these things. In the chat, Abantuum says, pretty sister. I found it interesting. I was looking, you guys probably could have seen, I was scrolling. Found it interesting how someone said something earlier. He said, yeah, right here. I think this is the first decent looking Nigerian woman I've seen in about 5 years. And, I take offense to that type of stuff. I really do take offense to that type of stuff. I mean, listen, man, we have problematic people all throughout the black world. But one damn thing we surely have is beautiful black women all throughout the black world. And this thing of, and I hate to bring them up, but this FBA ADOS thing is very good at this type of slander of how African women don't look good and all this kind of thing. I don't like that. So I appreciate Ua Bantum coming through and saying, pretty sister. I like that because I thought she was pretty as well. She might be using a filter like KW7 said, but I think underneath that she's pretty. Trigger Happy 262 Plus in the chat says, seems to be the case all over the African world. White is right. White may be the highest in terms of marriage recommendation, but I think the advantage of Africa is black proximity. Yeah, I agree. I think I think the problem. I think you'll fare better on the continent, or the Caribbean, perhaps, or some Caribbean countries, perhaps, because for all Trinidad talks they talk, they're only like 30% black. They're more Indian than black. Much less mixed. What they have going on with the mixed population. But in Africa, you will likely just be around an African. Out here in the West, in America in particular, North America, yeah, there's a problem that's going to come up here. And, you got these two groups of people out here, like Bakari called one group Foundational Billy Apes. You got these people out here who are reveling in their admixture. I want y'all to pay attention to that. They're reveling in their admixture. I find that highly problematic as well. With that said, shout out to Ua Bantam. Shout out to Bakari. Bakari is still out there listening. Respect to Bakari for that. Because I know he's out there checking out a fight tonight too. I think Tank Davis is tonight, right? I only got 2 panelists now, so we can take our time till 11 to have this discussion. All right, guys? Black Seal, what say you to this?
It's the value of whiteness, man. White global domination. When it looks as though the people who have dominated the world, who have conquered and enslaved every continent and every group of people, every inhabited landmass, have now set the standard of beauty, because it wasn't just their physical, but also their ideology, their mental is what dominates the world. So now you have issues where people see whiteness, the value of whiteness, because they control everything. You know, not everything, but I mean, they're what they consider attractive is what dominates. So, for example, you have black women who prefer white men for no other reason than he's white. You have black men that prefer white women for no reason that they're not black. You know, she white, she get a few extra points just because she white. This white dude can do anything to these women. You should go. I mean, there's plenty of sites on Reddit, and black women are seeking to be with other races of men. They got things like slave play because the value that they put on being white. So whiteness is the thing that moves the needle more so than anybody else. Is he a good person? Is he kind? No. Is he white? So what she's speaking to is how, and I don't know Nigerian men like that, but how, you know, they're putting the white people, the white women in on a pedestal because they're seen as exotic, seen as special. That happens. That's gonna happen as long as the world itself that we live in is an anti-black world. And being black is hard. It's there's a movement called, black women in luxury, where black women just want the luxurious life. They want to go shopping, go to spas, and buy what they want, and eat what they want, and travel. It's all about living life in luxury. And they usually want to get a white man because a white man can provide them, in their mind, a luxurious life. They can. But black people don't listen. The world is not a safe place for black people globally. You want to go to Italy and, go to Venice and be on them fucking boats in Venice. They will beat your ass as a black person. Don't play. You want to go to Paris and look at Eiffel Tower like you some sort of like a white woman can? No, ma'am. They think black women in France are sex workers. They're gonna try to see how much you're trying to sell that thing for. Okay, so and then they're shocked by that reality. But the world is anti-black. You can't escape it by being with a white man. Brothers, you can't escape by being with a white woman. Because this is the world we live in. I'm sorry, y'all can't fuck y'all way out of this black stuff. You gonna have to confront it head on. Head on, you gotta confront it. So I feel the sister's pain because she's seeing what she's seeing with her own eyes. She's seeing Nigerian women being passed over, and this is a good looking sister too. But she's seeing sisters passed over, probably for white women who don't look nowhere near as good as her. Nowhere near as good as her. They don't have the same requirements for the sisters they have for these white girls. These white girls can do anything. They can some homely looking white chick. She can get the world passed down to her. She and there's a couple baddies too. I'm not saying they're not, but the thing that the requirements that get put on sisters. Same with brothers. You see these nerdy, dorky looking white dudes get some of the baddest sisters. And they wouldn't even look your way as a black man. You think that nerdy black dude is getting the same treatment? No, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's not. He's not. He gotta work to get his sister. So the thing is they value white. This is what we're seeing is the value that whiteness has. Even the dating scene. People looking for love. But are they looking for love? Are they looking for help? Are they looking to have their position elevated? Or are they looking to be accepted? But even then, who you love, who you find attractive, is also a part of society. And society we live is anti-black. So it's no wonder you're going to have black men who gravitate towards white women or black women who gravitate towards white men. In fact, I personally believe you would see more interracial pairings, especially on the black women, white men side, if black women were seen as desirable. The truth of the matter is they're not to other races of men. They don't see them as desirable. They see them as good for fun. But whereas with black men, because the same qualities that make black men dark skin is seen as inherently masculine. And that's the problem with a lot of our dark skinned sisters have. Even with black men, but having dark skin makes you seem more masculine, more threatening. And a lot of black women suffer from that. But the same stereotypes that make black men attractive make black women unattractive. But again, that's a result of living in a world that is anti-black. And we have interpreted these ideas even among ourselves. I'll let one take it. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. KW Don 7 said something interesting in the chat. He said, Nigerian women worship Urugu males. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's a thing. Wow, I grew up saying that back home. That's funny. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, I think the desirability is pretty much because of the stereotypes associated with black women, but also cultural standards. Body type would be a good example. This is where I wish Trigger Happy would come up sometimes and speak, because I think he could add, he could flesh out some thoughts a bit better. But Trigger, if you don't mind, just flesh out that last comment you made a bit better. Maybe we could get a backup question out of it. Buana, differential treatment in dating. What say you?
Yeah, I had to go outside to say this thing. So, because I had to go outside. So, because I gotta tell you something.
Yeah,
no, I gotta tell you. So, the first I remember me dating a Nigerian woman. She was an Igbo, and I met her in somewhere in America. I ain't going to get into the details. And she was. This was me before I even had any consciousness about myself. Any consciousness. I'm coming straight off of the boat in the Bahamas, Koku, straight out of the Bahamas. No consciousness. A friend of mine, she was Barbara Bosa. She introduced me to one of our friends from Atlanta, a black sister, dark skinned sister. I can't never take this out of my head. She was so beautiful. I mean, I understand why Nigerian men or Nigerians put women in the godhood, because she reminded me like a black goddess, straight up, straight. I maybe I'm abnormal, because in the Bahamas, whiteness for me was always in the background. When I thought about whiteness wasn't a part of my life. As far as whiteness goes, whiteness was something that's far away. The tourists, when I go downtown or when I interact them in a strange setting, but that was never my usual interactions. So it's always been, I live in a community of black people, so I gauge and measure. It wasn't about me trying. So anyways, the first Nigerian woman I've dated, she was a beautiful black woman. Beautiful black woman. And I'm saying to myself, if the Nigerian brothers don't want your women, send them to the Caribbean, bro. Send them to the Caribbean. As far as the women is concerned, I've met. I don't understand the complex that these black brothers. I used to be an athlete, and Coco, you know about Carifta. So you see people from all around the Caribbean. You see Jamaican women, all them slender bodies. You see all these Caribbean women and things. I'm trying to imagine a world where I'm saying that Karen or Becky could even compete on that level. I don't understand it. I do not understand this line. Maybe because I never sleep with a white woman. Maybe a white woman have something that they discovered that they do that black women don't do, and I've never discovered it. But I don't see any reason for me to transition. I don't see any reason. I mean, this has always been in my life as a consistency. I remember my first black American girlfriend. She was a dark skinned woman with natural hair. This was before my consciousness. I remember she had a body out of this world. What is the reason? What does Karen have that my sisters can't give me in the black world? I don't understand it. As far as loyalty, fidelity, if I doing the things I need to do, which sometimes I wasn't, I don't see what the problem is. I have not had the bad breaks some of my brothers may have had with their women. The woman I have right now, I'm pleased with. I'm happy with. She's a great sister. I don't understand the reasoning that would cause me to want to transition to try to find a Karen or a Becky. And what do they have, a 30-year, a 20-year lifespan? Before when they get 50, they look like trash and like something that you take out of. They look like mashup newspaper, because they can't exist in this sun and this heat. You know what I mean? They can look like pirates. So why would I want to even do that to myself? And then you have to deal with their family, racist ass family members. You have to deal with their liberal badass attitude. I'm like, why? Why? Am I missing something? Black Steel, am I missing something, brother? Am I missing something? I mean, you got to tell me, because you
Well,
was
the
the one who's
problem,
dated a bunch of white
the
women.
thing is, the thing
I
that
don't
they
understand.
the thing that they have is that they're white. That's really what it is. What they have is that they're white. Period. Point blank in the discussion. That's what they value, because they value the whiteness and access to the world that they believe it has. And that's really what it is. To me, I've never played in the snow myself. I might have threw a couple snowballs here and there, but I've never played. I never been no snow, no snowman. But so I understand what you're saying.
They
But
do some. Do they do something special that black women don't do? Black
I'm gonna
Steel.
tell you, I'm gonna tell you what a friend of mine told me. He's played in the snow a couple times, right? He told me that there's something about white women. There's a freeness about them, a level of freedom they have. And I told him that the reason that because there's a certain amount of weight that comes with being black that white women don't have, right? Just he was talking about their attitudes and some of the things that they. But I said, white women don't have that, and I said that's because white women don't carry the baggage of being black in an anti-black world. So just like I'm pretty sure many times white women tend to fetishize black men. The same thing goes for the other way around. White women fetishizing black men, white men fetishizing black women. But it's really more of the value of whiteness that it brings in an anti-black world. I got a white partner, I got a white boyfriend, a white girlfriend. I can go places that I couldn't go before. Just me and my black girlfriend. I'm gonna be exposed. Like this one black girl was talking about dating white men. She was, oh, you get to go on yachts in the summertime. Like white dudes just out here just putting women on yachts. But because they're white, it's the pinnacle. Oh, you get to go yachting, you get to go to wineries and stuff. In her mind, she's associated whiteness with things of luxury and wealth. And a lot of black men consider that too. I got the number one woman. I got the white woman. I'm not speaking for myself. I'm just speaking in their thought process. The white woman's at the top of the list. I got a white man. The white man is on top. The white woman's right beneath him. I got, the white man runs the world. I got his woman. I even heard some people say that's reparations, as if you swap and spit with a white person. It's some form of reparation of what was done to your ancestors. It's because they value whiteness and what they think it brings. The status, the social class, the economic class. Even the physical. They look at it and say, oh, I'm with a white person. That makes me better. Some people want mixed kids. There's a famous picture of a black woman in Brazil, praising God that her daughter was with a white man. It's called the redemption of Ham. We see how colorism in Latin America works. The closer you get to white, the better you work. Some people want that upliftment. Some people just feel some people have inherited every negative anti-black stereotype. So black men don't take care of their kids. Black men are violent and dangerous. Black women are sexually promiscuous, and they was what you call confirmation bias. They seek everything they can to confirm those feelings about their own people, and then they seek out a white person because deep down they don't like themselves. They don't like to be. They don't like to be in black spaces. They don't like to be in the black community. Many of them are traumatized, dealing with abuse and whatnot. It's a dirty game.
Yo, I understand that, but and I do understand that. I do understand that, Black Steel. But I'm saying when Black Steel tells me that like they look at the black woman as more sexually promiscuous, I'm saying to I have to hold my head. Coco will tell you, brother. Don't you know what white women do when they come here, bro? Honestly, man, they'll have full scale trains. I mean, I'm talking about like the lowest common denominator dudes like with dreads and stuff like that. They be slutting out these white women. I'm like, are y'all for real? Sexually promiscuous? Oh my goodness, it blows my mind to hear like something like that, because from the Coco will tell you 50-year-old, 60-year-old mamas, grandmamas, when they come down here, it's like an orgy. It's like they lose their morals as soon as they reach on the beaches in Nassau. But that's not been my experience. Let me just put it like that. That's not been my experience. I feel like they like the most open, like sexually open people on the planet. My exposure to what I've experienced with white women is that they are very low in their behavior. Let me put it like that. And that's a very conservative way of saying what I've been exposed to and what I have seen. Let me put it like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've always looked at them as something sexually, kind of like sexually deviant almost. I too, yeah. So it was a point I was gonna make based on something one of y'all said, and I completely forgot it. Let me read something from the chat. Maybe I'll remember. By the way, the fact that Buana outside whispering is some nasty work too. But my God. But anyway, that's a Lutheran woman for you. Uwa Abantuum says Nigerian man is whitewashed politically and civilizationally. That's why some of us are pushing for independence from these neo-colonial countries. He goes on to say, I think when Buana asks, what is it that lures black men into white women? What is the thing? Uwa says, you're missing access to white supremacy. Uwa goes on to say, sorry, not Uwa. I thought I saw another comment from Uwa, but maybe not. Afro-Native World asks this question of me and Buana. Let me find it. He said, ask Coco and Buana if the Mwaga African woman in the Caribbean getting any love. I gotta be honest with you. They get love, but they ain't getting first love.
Yeah, they get love. They get love. No, they get love. By the way, MAGA for my American, but they just mean skinny, very, very skinny woman. Yeah.
We say po. At least when I was growing up, we used to say po. A po gal. Yeah, very skinny woman. They get love, but they don't get. I would say they don't get first love. And what I mean by that, and I thought about that this week. Funny enough, I think black men don't get enough credit for loving on their bigger women too. Lizzo could get some work out here around the corner. Like Lizzo could, I'm not talking about famous Lizzo. I'm talking about regular Lizzo could get grind right around the way here.
I'd bounce Lizzo too.
No, but seriously, you mightn't do it, Black Steel, but trust me, there's dudes. Where I'm from, where Buana from, there's little men, half my size, who are with some big girls like my size.
Yeah, be too something to do something, man. That's the motto. You got to be too something to do something.
And plus, I know she can cook too. She the guy. I bunks that.
Yeah. So like, we don't get enough credit because let me tell you something I learned some years ago, man. Just through observation and stuff too. If you're a big white girl, if you're like a oversized Mumford, like a big white girl, in white society, you might be used up by your brother's friend, your boyfriend friend. Like you might, like this pansexual shit. The first time I heard about that pansexual stuff is them big Gussie Mae kind of white, like oversized white girls. We don't do that to our black women who are big like that. They get love. They get normal love. They ain't got to become weirdos to get a little love. We give them love. and I think we should be credited for that to a certain
I think,
extent.
I think Coco, we should be credited for loving black women in general because let's keep it 100%. Despite what she's talking about, black people overwhelmingly decide to be in relationships with black people. Black men and black women are the majority. Our interracial dating, so like for example, the people who date outside of their race more than anybody is Asian women. It ain't black people, right? Black people stay together, are with each other more than because most people prefer their own race. So, especially seeing as how black women aren't really seen as desirable outside of interracial relationships. So, for sisters, it's either a black man or it's nobody for the most part. For the most part, I'm not saying there's outliers. For statistically speaking, my sisters, it's gonna be a brother or it's not gonna be nobody. All right. You're gonna find a couple white dudes, couple maybe you might get a Chinese man here and there, but overwhelmingly black people are in relationships with other black people. I think we often speak of the interracial people as if they're a majority, and they're not. They're really a small minority of black people who are interracially dated. Most of us prefer to be with our own kind, right? We got issues. We live in a world that hates us, but at the same time, I know that black people overwhelmingly want to be with other black people more than over anybody else more than anybody else. For black men, the same way. It's gonna be a sister, or it's nothing. Like Buana said, who wants to deal with all the crap that comes with dealing with a white person? Their racist family members, their insensitive jokes. Like who wants to go through all that if you don't have to, you know? But yeah, most of us prefer to be with black people, black women, black men of all shapes and sizes. And to your point, Koku, a bigger woman is gonna get more love from a black man than a white, and they know that. That's why the whole
Absolutely.
stereotype is about the big white girls get with black dudes. That they know that. That's why you got these divestors going to the gym to lose weight because they don't want to be seen as attractive to black men. They want to lose that their curves and their hips and that whatnot. It's funny, you know what I'm saying? But they understand. Another thing too, black actually the black American men, I can't speak for everybody. The black American men are seen as the most egalitarian of all men. The stuff that a lot of women they know they can't do with a white man. They know they can't do with an Asian man. But for a black man, he's gonna be a little bit more accommodating. And that can be good and bad. That can that's a double-edged sword. But I think that black people are seen we don't we struggle to see the good in ourselves. And I think that's something
Sir,
that we
I
try to
agree with that. Yes, I agree with that.
Well, that's the show tonight. I want to thank everyone who participated, from Trigger Happy to Afro Native World, Uwa Bantuum, KW Don 7, Brother Bakari, the forecast was here earlier. Anthony McPhail was in the chat tonight. Oni was here. He had some internet issues, but it was good to see him make it out to another episode of Shoot the Breeze tonight, even though he is in the continent on a whole different time thing than us. Shout out to everyone. Before you guys on the panel leave, Black Steel, Buana, give us a positive shout out for the week. It could be personal or it could be something in the black world that you saw. Let's start with Black Steel.
So I'm on vacation this week. I'm actually in Washington D.C. I had a chance to visit the home of our ancestor, Frederick Douglass. So shout out to him. May he rest in peace. But it was so good to go in there and see that Black history. I went to the African American Museum in D.C. It's right by the Washington Monument. That was a great experience. Um, I think anybody who doubts that Black people come from Africa, or though how those crazy people, the pretendians, they need to take their ass to that museum. It was so powerful seeing those chains, seeing those shackles they had for little children in there, seeing the ballast from the ship. They're actually doing archaeological work on a Portuguese slaver called the San Jose that sank off the I believe it's near the coast of Brazil, and they're bringing it up, excavating it to show just what our ancestors went through. So shout out to the Museum of African American History. That was a positive thing in the Black world for me. I can't speak to everybody else, but I enjoyed that. If you get a chance, never go. Highly recommend it.
That's great. That's great stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about you?
Yes. I'm glad that my brother is on holiday right now, and had the opportunity to see all these sites in DC. And I used to live in DC for a while, by the way, but I'm glad that he was able to see the museum and all these other things. That should, it's really interesting for, when Black Steel talks about that, probably maybe sometime in the future, because I've never been there before, and I really would want to know what was actually inside there. That I'm very interested in knowing that. But
Put your
what I
email
wanted
in there, Juan. I took lots of pictures. I can see a lot of pictures.
I'll give it to Coco. Give him my
Yeah,
email if
but
you got
put it
it,
in
brother.
private chat and I'll copy it.
I'll do that before the show ends.
Thank you.
But yeah, by the way, yeah, shout out to my sisters, because we was talking about Black women tonight, and I know Brother Wakari will be surprised about this. But like I say, Black women have been a consistent thread in my life. They've always stuck with me through thick and thin, through good times and bad times. My sisters sometimes get a bad rap, especially with the so-called modern media, but they have always been 100 grand in my life, in helping me, ushering me. Even sometimes when my brothers them fail me, my sisters them, and I talk about my blood sisters, the Black women in my life has always been there for me consistently. The Black women is sometimes is the pulse, man. They the pulse. They the pulse. They keep the Black men doing the things they need to do, and they keep us on the right track, whether you want to admit that or not. Our mothers, our sisters, our lovers, our partners, and our wives. You know what I mean? That's been the consistent thread. And don't never let these people out here try to pull us apart. Do we have issues with one another? Absolutely. We wouldn't be, but we are not necessarily in a most natural situation living in the Western world, and because of our unnatural situation, it leads us to have to deal with different kind of issues that we would normally face if we was living in our natural environment. You know what I mean? So I think that we have to contend with these things. But the Black woman has always been there for us, and so should we be there for them. Regardless of the fact that we may have issues with one another from time to time. But I just wanted to say shout out to the Black woman. We love you all always. You know what I mean? We gonna criticize you all, but we love you all to death, and we'll give our lives for making sure that you're all good and you're all safe and you're all well protected. So I'll leave it there.
Well said, Wada. I'm sure your lady put down the frying pan now after you said that.
Coco, please give Black Steel my email. I'm drinking right now. I can't type, so give my email, please.
All right, I'll email it to you. You know what I want to shout out? I don't know if it was said recently or not, but I just saw it myself. I want to shout out Traore. Burkina Faso as one of the fastest growing economies with local industries like textile and gold booming, all supported by a new profitable and local agriculture base that the president himself is encouraging. But this comment here, I really like this quote here from him, because it tells me that he gets it. He says, this is a quote, he says, "We have been receiving French aid for 63 years, yet our country has not developed. So cutting it off from us now will not kill us. Rather, it will motivate us to work and rely on ourselves." That's President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. And I think that's a message that needs to go out throughout the Black world, man. Leave these people alone. Get away from them. It won't kill you. All it will do is make you start working on your problems yourself, right? And you will be fine. We will be fine. I didn't get any shout outs from the chat, but make sure you guys in the playback check out the chat. A lot of good side conversations happening out there. We should be back next week. We're low on topics, so if you're on the Discord, go on, post some topics. If you're not on the Discord, join it. Join the Discord. The link is right there, pinned to the top of the chat. And yeah, so join, have your thoughts be heard as well. Afro Native World kind of distracted me here. He says, looking for a summer read, check Okunini Kamal Rashid's new book, Jacob A. Carruthers and the Restoration of an African Worldview. Trigger Happy 262 says, Kemi Seba met Ibrahim Traore. I would like to interview him. I wonder what it would take to be able to try to interview him. I would like to interview him because I think we need to hear people who are taking leadership roles, people who are putting their necks on the line. We need to talk to them a little bit more, hear from them directly, as opposed to memes and all this type of thing. I'm supposed to interview Obadle Camben soon about his new book. So look out for that. I'll let you guys know in advance when it's happening. Until next week, you guys be good. Thank you for everything. I'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.